Hello, and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan.
And I'm the kind of bloke that cut off your feet and watch you hobble around for a bit before shoving you in the river, if you know what I mean.
I think I do know what you mean. Today we are going to be reviewing Swyvers. Swyvers from Luke Gearing and David Hoskins. This is a fun, interesting game. Anyone that's a fan of Luke Gearing's writing, which you all should be, will enjoy this one. And the art from David Hoskins is insane, so this is going to be a fun one. Yeah, we had Luke and David on a while ago when this was printing, or like the Kickstarter was going or whatever. And both of them are awesome people. Luke, obviously, an insanely prolific and genius, in my opinion. I think in our opinion.
Yeah,
creator in the indie space. Big Clifford lover, you know. And David Hoskins is just an insane, incredible artist. So this is going to be a really fun one to go over. What does the back of Swyvers say? Swyvers is a game about bastards. You and your gang of criminals scarper through heists and sewers, stalk through the filth of the smoke, and if you're lucky, you'll make it out with a few extra shillings. The whole of this city is your filthy, sickly oyster. Fun game. This is from Melsonian Arts Council. Troika and all of the various things Troika related and more. It feels like a very Melsonian Arts Council game, which I mean it is, so I guess that makes sense.
Fair.
Yeah. I do there are a couple editions that came out. I did set up the down camera today, so let's take a peek.
Ooh, the down camera.
The down camera. That's what at least I called it in my my thingamabob here. So let's take a peek. So this is the game book. Those in podcast land, watch the YouTube. So this is the book. This is the normal cover. It's very black, white, and red. Swyvers on the top, and then below there is a bastard Swyver person, kind of behind a fence-ish situation, all chained up, still smirking with a city behind them. Very red, as I said, black. On the back is the part that I read before, the little Melsonian Piggies logos, and there's a really cool border around the entire thing that's got crossbows and all sorts of stuff. And in the tops there are these. It's like a hog's head and like a person yelling. So this is the standard edition. Don't really need to flip too much on the inside. I love the end papers. I don't know if you saw, they actually put them in the PDF too. But this design, I don't know why. Yeah, I just get lost in it. And I know on the PDF that it has it. I don't know in the book if it prints it, but on some of the pages you can see a giant version of the design in the background a tiny bit. I don't think it comes through on the printing. But in the it does it. In the PDF you can see a little bit though. So that's the regular version, right? And then there was also the super fancy deluxe edition, which is this one right here. I just threw on top. They golded a bunch of stuff. So the black area behind the Swyver, the bastard person, is all golded out. And then when you go to the back, you can see that some of this part is golded here in his little hat and this part here. I am kind of bummed though that there was an issue where some other stuff was supposed to be gold and it didn't quite work out, so they didn't do it. So the whole Swyvers logo that's white here was supposed to be gold, and I believe these guys in the corners here were supposed to be gold too. I actually have a graphic of the mock-up, and obviously it still looks great. But I think with the white against the gold, I actually like the black and red one better.
I would say it's unfortunate because without those few changes, the basic or regular edition is definitely more visually my favorite.
Yeah, so this, I believe, this is the mock-up of the original one, and you can see how something's changed a little bit.
Yeah,
the extra designs on the side are great for the current one, but not having this area gold and not having those guys in the corner, I think that really sets the whole thing off. So having just the gold there kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's still nice. It's still deluxe. I still enjoy it, but I do think that it makes me enjoy the regular one maybe a touch more. Also, what came with it was this adventure, Marlow Docks. And I also got this coin. I do believe maybe it's a pence or a shilling, but this is part of it as well. I got that. Did you get the coin situation?
I did not get the coin.
It might have come with just the deluxe. Did you get Marlowe Docks?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I was actually just looking for it. I was using it for a bookmark, but I actually think it's on my nightstand because I was reading this in bed the other day. So
yeah, so the coin,
as one does, you know.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? So the coin is pretty cool. I enjoy it. It's got a rat with a crown on it on the back, and then the queen-ish person on the front. You know, God save the queen, or as I like to say, down with the aristocracy. But to each their own. That's the book. It's nice. It's enjoyable. It's hardback. It's not super big. I don't know why I love thin hardback. You know, like The Job. It's like not a lot of pages.
I mean, the job is like real thin, but
yeah, real thin.
This is still like regular book thickness, you know, girth.
Yeah, but is it a weird size? Do I just feel like it's a weird size because it's not? It's larger than A5 because there's an A5, right? But it's not 8.5 by 11, is it? Do I have an 8.5 by 11 book floating around? I mean, I have a billion books behind me. Let me see if I have an 8.5 by 11.
Please hold, listeners. Do 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 do. Oh, he's back.
So this is an 8.5 by 11.
Oh, I guess it is an interesting size.
It is an interesting size. Yeah.
Huh. I mean,
I do enjoy it.
It fits on my bookshelf fine, so I guess I didn't really think about it. So
it's neat. Random Luka Rejic art version of Neoclassical Geek Revival. We'll talk about that one day, maybe. So someone in the chat said it looks like maybe Crown Quarto. Maybe.
I don't know that size.
So
so yeah. Okay.
So that is a quick peek at Swyvers. And for those who like to hear a little bit about some other stuff, gosh, I feel like we haven't done this in so long, and I feel like I forgot everything. But Swyvers was on Kickstarter. It funded on some time ago. There's been 26 updates. Let's scroll to the beginning and find out the exact day it funded. But it funded with 2,126 backers for £72,441. And I don't know what that is in American, but it ain't a small amount of money. So, successful project, I think, for a little game. And it funded successfully on March 7th, 2024. Is it really just... Oh, we're in 2025 now. I was like, So a little bit less than a year ago. So it's great. I mean, we got this weeks ago at this point. So it came out, it funded, made, printed, shipped, and got to people in under a year, which for Kickstarter, good job.
For the record, it did fund for those looking for the USD number. It is about 88,000 USD.
It's crazy. 88,000 USD.
Pretty admirable amount for a project.
Yeah, it's great. So let's stop hemming and hawing and let's just hop in here.
Oh, I'm not done hawing.
Oh, do I need to hem more or?
Yeah.
Funny story.
This cover gets better the closer you get to it, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna full screen the cover.
Like it looks great from far away, but when you get really close to the cover, you're like, oh yeah, this is like the fire in the background.
Yeah.
It really pops out, you know, like the texture of like the like speckles on the back. It looks really good.
Yeah. It's really interesting how much texture they put onto the PDF cover.
Yeah.
If you actually scroll into it, there is a paper texture over the PDF cover, but there isn't one on the print version. Obviously, why would you print a texture onto it?
Right.
But even all the little designs on the side, like you said, the more you look at it, the greater it gets. And again, every piece of this is David Hoskins art, and David Hoskins art is insane. So it's enjoyable to look through the whole way. But
yeah, there's not a lot of like page art in this, but there are these really awesome, massive panels of like really like thematically epic art that I really enjoyed going through this. And it was like every time you came across one, you're like, this is a nice little treat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, they don't use a lot of spot art, which I think they could have tweaked the layout a tiny bit and added a little bit more spot art, which would have been nice. But
Yeah, I don't know for some reason, even though usually I'm the one that is like they could use more spot art. It didn't really bother me as much in this one.
no,
And
it doesn't.
maybe because like obviously every time we talk about Lou Gehrig, I talk about my experience with Lou Gehrig stuff, which is Wolves Upon the Coast, which I'm a are you showing off your mug? Showing off your Triangle Agency mug?
The Triangle Agency mug, just while you talk, yeah.
Yeah, I just always go back to Wolves Upon the Coast, and while this isn't like a sequel to that in any way, but there's definitely like some DNA of it in here, and maybe that's why I was just clicked into the mode that this is written very much like that instructional like book, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like this definitely bothers me less so, but also because the layout I think suits it, and we'll scroll through that.
The layout,
and
yeah,
I think it makes it fit. But again, yeah, the cover is absolutely fantastic. I love the smirking bastard on the front; it just gets me. Here is the in papers that I was talking about, and I don't know why this design just makes me want to get lost in it, but I really dig it a whole lot.
Take a couple edibles, just stare at it.
Just stare, man. It just moves. You know, it's definitely that kind of design that is. Do you see faces? Is it looking at you? Is it looking into you? Like what is happening? So, Melsonian Arts Council. There's all the rights stuff is here printed there. Font used is Mrs. Eves. Playtesters are here, and then you got Swyvers. This is written by Luke Gehrig. Additional writing by Daniel Boyle. Art by David Hoskins. Editing and development by Jarrett Crater, layout by Cade Kreitz, art direction by Christian Kessler. Those are all names we've seen before because they're all
good names.
Yeah, solid batch of names there. So a couple of things here. I do like this part. I do want to read some of this part here. It says, "What is Swyvers?" Swyvers is a lightweight set of rules married to a full set of tools and tables for running a game in the chaotic sprawl of the Smoke, capital The Smoke. It's mini districts and the Midden, all caps. What a city it is. Corrupt officials, looming war, rogue sorcerers, monsters below and knobs above. Violence rests as thick as the smog. Nothing is sacred, and it's always bloody raining. And then the author's note is a great part to read here as well. The socioeconomic factors that are involved in criminality are not to be ignored, not to mention who defines criminality and why. Which political aims are served by these definitions? This game replicates many of the inequities of the world past and present that we might examine them. When we do this, we must ensure we have considered the safety and enjoyment of our players first and foremost. I do not know your players nor your table. I couldn't tell you which tools are suitable, but I can insist you think on it and take appropriate action. Swyvers is a game about bastards. You and your gang of criminals scarper through high side. Read that part before. So the whole city is filthy, sickly, oyster. There you go. I like that. I love the acknowledgement in the beginning of just being like, hey, crime is really just the powerful protecting their interests. What is crime?
Yeah. I mean, and the desperate seeking to survive because of a situation that they've been put in by those in power. Yeah, I think it's a great
the socioeconomic forces.
Yeah, I really enjoy the I can't tell you what tools are suitable, but I insist that you think on it and take appropriate action, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's how easy it has to be. Safety tools, man. That's literally all it has to be. Is just be like, hey, I don't know what works for your table. Just think about what works for your table. And that's fantastic. I mean, those that need them, use them. Those that don't, you know, go watch Orbital Blues.
It's so funny.
So getting into the table of contents here, 2 tables. The book runs to about, about 100-ish pages. It's 94 before the quick reference maps. It comes out to 95 pages.
It's very light though for you know, for a 95-page book. I mean, there's just like, not that there's not a ton in here. Like there's some really awesome tables. It's fun all the way through, but it feels very easy to get through this, you know?
Well, I mean, because part of it, I mean, the explanation here in the beginning, it couldn't be more apt. It says that it is a lightweight rule set married to a full set of tools and tables. So realistically, rules in this game you could fit on 6, maybe 8 pages. Yeah. Right? Maybe less than 10. And then the vast majority of the rest of it is tables until you get to some of the later bits. But the tables are fantastic. I mean, Luke Gehrig's writing shines obviously through all of this stuff. I mean, because he wrote it. All of it shines because it's
it does
theirs,
have that really great like tongue-in-cheek and also like dry Luke Gearing sense of humor. That
fuck you with a smirk.
Find so hysterical.
It's really good. So there is.
No, it's awful.
Yeah, right. Screw Luke Gearing. So no, I'm kidding. So there are hyperlinks. We're looking at the table of contents now. There's sections. Swyver creation, character creation first. We'll have thoughts. This and that. General rules. Running Swivers. Okay. This one says stop yelling, so I'm gonna work on that one right now because I know I'm yelling. Running Swivers, arseholes and adversaries, magic, and then blue cheese left to rot is the adventure in the back of the book, which is awesome. I will say there are hyperlinks on the table of contents, which is great, but there are no bookmarks.
There are no bookmarks. I didn't notice that.
Bookmarks. Yeah, there's no bookmarks. Table of contents hyperlink though. That's cool. And then I don't know. So this is what I'm talking about. On the PDF, you can see blown to like 100 times. You can see the in-paper design on the background of the paper on the Swyver creation page, which I think is a fantastic touch. Its transparency is like 2, but it looks really, really nice. And then I also do like, I'm sure you noticed that in the book.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure in the PDF too, there are the little tabs on the side so you can get tabulated to different sections. Eco-Mofos did that color-coded, which is really nice. But I do like that there are the tabs on the side. It makes me really think about how I want to like do game stuff in that way where like it's great that you can just quick flip to, it's the 3rd section. Let me just flip to there. I really like that a lot. So then we have a full page piece of art. Let me full page this for those looking zoom to page levels. Of a bunch of bastards here. We got a person with a spear, harpoon situation, a crossbow, dagger, sword, very bastard looking bastards, very dynamic postering. No. They all look like what I imagine a Swyver to look like. And the one of the things that's just insane about David Hoskins' art is the shading and the line work and the cross hatching and everything.
Insane.
Incredible.
If you were listening to this as a podcast, like really, this is another one. I mean, we say this, I feel like so many episodes, but you really should maybe just drop into this on YouTube and just look at some of the art pieces. They're really just a joy to look at. Like, I wish I had this one as a poster, you know?
Dude, I say that about like every piece in this book, though.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's crazy.
The pieces in this book are incredible.
And it's just there's something about how bright everything, the way that David draws, it's almost like there's a spotlight on things so that there's more shading or shadows, and then the shadows are so cross-hatched. It looks really, really neat. And then the textures and like the hair and everything are fantastic. So really amazing piece of art. And then, like I said, everything in this book is all David Hoskins art, and it's great. So we immediately, the very first thing you see is Swyver's creation. Character creation. So we have thoughts on that. Our personal preference is brief, small intro to the rules, right? Even just like here's the normal die, whatever, and then character creation, and then general rules. This goes straight into character creation, which is a thing that's fine, and it's very small. Some might say too small. Swyver creation. You're the scum of the streets. Wait, you're a character creation guy. This is all you, buddy.
Yeah, you're the scum of the streets, and you'd have it no other way. So Swivers start with 3 attributes, rolling 3d6 for each attribute. That is Constitution, how much of a beating you take; Dexterity, how agile and slippery you are; Strength, how much of a bruiser you are. And Swivers have hit points equal to their Constitution. I love this part, actually. This part is great. Swivers have a 25% chance of being literate, 4 on the D4. A reason for literacy must be determined in under 5 seconds, or else literacy is lost. And the example is, a mouse taught me. So really, you can have anything as your reason, and I think that's fucking hysterical. I also think that if you're just not quick enough on the ball, nope, you're not literate anymore, buddy.
Hey, if you're not quick on the ball, you're not quick on that. Might be why you're fucking illiterate, you know?
Too funny. So I start with D10 plus 10 shillings, a ropey shank, and some orid rags. Swyvers start with one item from the following table. I should pull up a dice roller because these fucking
Yeah, you're gonna be
tables-
rolling a lot, buddy.
Yeah, these
Yeah,
tables
you're
fucking
gonna be
slap.
designated roller. So it is a D100 table that fills the rest of that page and the following page. So the very first spread of the game is the character creation rules, and then a D100 spread trinket table of the shit. How many times you get on it? 1. All right. So what's your 1?
I rolled 25. A thief's hand. Just a hand.
That's
You can
that's
get
a thing.
Such classics as a trained crow, a stupid dog, an awkwardly sized riding saddle, a flamboyant handkerchief, huge bag of nuts.
Spoiled milk.
Spoiled milk's a good one. Oh,
Quote unquote poetry. And then your
Dave's special sauce is a good one too.
Yeah. And then a sense of pride and accomplishment. Yeah. You can also, additionally, you may roll once on the trait table below to give some ideas of the Swyver's personality, and it's a D20 trait table. So that is also on this spread here, is that D20 trait table. So 19 is familiar, but what did you roll on a D20 trait table?
I got proper bricky.
You're proper bricky. You bricked up, some might say. But man, I kind of want to roll on some of these too. I'm gonna pull up
they're good. Yeah, these tables are a lot of fun to go through.
Yeah, you know what I should just do? I'm just gonna plug in my electric dice roller here. It's so much easier than pulling up the other thing.
I do think it's funny because like British slang is like incredibly unique, and I don't ever use it, but also it's like fairly self-evident. Like later on, there's talking about a backy wizard, and it's really talking about tobacco, and proper bricky is like bricky like brick, you know?
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, no, it's great. I wish Americans were interesting at all. But we're not. All we do is steal all of our slang from people that we in turn keep down. But you know, I rolled a 4, so I got away with the fairies. Not away with the fairies, as in like having a way with fairies. It's just away with the fairies, as in I'm away with them. Yeah,
Head in the clouds type.
Yeah. Got the morbs always fuming. Fucking weird.
Dude, eager to please a geezer is the best one.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is character creation rules. That's what you get. That's all you get. So there are 3 alternate, basically like pre-generated classes, kind of beyond just a basic Swyver. So
yeah, so the alternate starts. These are for players who don't want to take the bog standard scum. All of these all change the game significantly, so use with caution, which I think is really especially true about the second one. To use an alternative to start, follow the procedures given below rather than the procedures above. They still start with a trinket from the table above, though. So you have a ruined knob. So you were like a noble, a proper knob. Your house has fallen, and you must mingle with the muck, so be it. So this one, you start with a higher constitution. Well, I guess it's not technically true. You rolled 4d6 instead of 3, but you take the lowest 3. So, you know, that is probably much worse. And then strength the same way, and dexterity is just 3d6. You do have some special rules. You have a weak claim to a minor title of nobility. Can only retire once this title is claimed. Has a non-transferable right to bear arms, which in the smoke, you do have to have a license to bear arms. You can buy one. This one starts with a non-transferable one. You're always literate. You start with more shillings, 2d10 plus 20. And you may not roll on the trait table preceding, must roll on nobility trait table. So if you're looking for a trait for your character that has its own trait table, consisting of such classics as absolutely incapable of caring for others, couldn't conceive of performing hard labor, being painfully patronizing towards the lower classes. It's good. The next one of our alternative start is the Ratman Exile. That's right, there are Ratmen in this world. Yeah, you are a Ratman ejected from their clan. The bounty on your tail is still very appealing. You start with less constitution, that's starting with 2d6, less strength, 2d6, but more dexterity. You roll 4d6. And here are your special rules. You killed on sight above surface if discovered to be a cheese thief. Never begin literate. Knows D4 fellow exiles. Starts with D4 pence and a hooded, ragged robe. Can attack with claws for D6 damage plus the chance of inflicting disease. Determine this disease randomly at the beginning of play. See page 30, which is hyperlinked. You are immune. That's right, inline hyperlink. You are immune to this disease, and you may roll on the trait table as normal. Shall inline hyperlinking.
Boom. Boom.
And the last of the alternative starts, I believe, yes, it is
roll over the word Swyvers at the top.
Oh my God, does it take me back to the
table of contents, baby? I love Melsonia. I love Melsonia. The clapping on the YouTube is my mic cuts it out, but I'm clapping right now. Clap, 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 clap. So
it's interesting that you can talk and clap and it still just cuts out the clap.
It's insane that I could, yeah, because this is
you're clapping right now,
pretty loud, yeah, and it cuts it out. NVIDIA, baby, pre AI, fuck the 5070s. Anyway, we were at
Hedgewiver. Mm-hmm. Any old twat from out of town. So you're
bro. Honestly, might be the best line in the entire fucking book. Every time I read it, I literally laugh out loud. It is fucking fantastic.
So Constitution, you roll 4d6, but you take the higher of the 3 rolls. Strength and Dex work the same. Your special rules, you never begin literate in the language of the smoke. I guess meaning you could be literate in a not the smoke language. You start with 3d10 shillings. Start with an accent. Amazing. Amazing that it's in here because I genuinely, if I had the player take this, I'd be like, okay, come up with an accent. Knows nothing of the smoke. May roll on the trait table as normal. Little note here, this start captures anything from a visitor from across the sea to a country bumpkin in the big city. Use the starting wealth as a guide. I love that like however much wealth you roll is kind of, you can use as an implication to what your character actually is. If you roll really low, you could be a country bumpkin, which I think also fits with the Constitution being higher. If you were like a country boy, like, yeah, of course it's higher. You work on a farm or whatever.
Yeah. What do you think NB means? What is NB? I'm sure it's something.
Yeah, let's nota.
Google furiously.
It's the Latin phrase "nota bene," which means note well. It's just
interesting.
It's just a note. So
it's another thing like the IE and the EG.
Yeah.
Nice.
Somewhere
sick.
in that vein.
I love the art at the bottom of all 3 of these. Insane.
There's some spot art right here, you know?
Yeah, actually, I flipped through and there's there's a ton, and in places there's only a couple pages really where there's not, and not enough that it matters in a 100-page book, like realistically, because a lot of the columns go super low.
I look through this table or look through this book and I see the tables. You know, I've been very invested in the tables because they're good.
But the art on these is great, even to the point where it's pictures of all the people, the knob with an amazing expression, like woe is me kind of thing. The rat man, and then the person that's like not from here being like with the hand up like they're looking. But the frames that are drawn around them too are fantastic. The gym, the little wrapping at the top, and then the frame for the other guy that's a neat design. I don't know. It's really fantastic.
Really enjoy that there's ratmen in this, but when you look at the picture, it's obvious that they still look like fairly human. Like they have big teeth and long claws and pointed ears and like, you know, like a longer nose, but like they still look like they're not like furry rat, like were-rat people, you know?
Yeah, they're like 85-90% human.
Yes. Which is good.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. Having it be pretty historic-ish, and then just tweaking it a little bit in a direction like that, which also makes great sense for the smoke and the whole vibe of the bastard stuff. Yeah, you're right. It's a really great addition.
So starting kits, which I believe is the next page. Hold on, let me read one thing real quick. Okay, cool. Starting kits. Yeah, so for newer players, or speed of play, basically just for easy entry into playing a game, whether that be it's your first time making a character in this, or your character died and you want to get back in the game really quickly, you can use your shillings that you've rolled at character creation to buy equipment, obviously. Although I don't think it says that before this, actually. But here are some pre-made kits that you can immediately buy with your money, and then just drop in with this stuff. They do make entry into the game a lot easier. They're also, I love the I think the false beggar one's my favorite. Like you're just you're just a piece of shit like faker beggar. You know, you have crutches, an eye patch, ord rags, blanket, a decent shank, 3 pints of gutter liquor, a bucket, cheap pipe, 10 doses of Brown's tobacco. I think Brown's tobacco is the better tobacco, isn't it?
You read the tables deeper than I did, if you know that.
Yeah. Because I think maybe it's not. I think the Backy Wizard one is, I don't know. We'll see later. And then 48 eggs and a backpack. You got 48 eggs, bro. You can cook them.
I also really love that it's really whatever you roll as you're starting. You're like, well, I rolled, 10 shillings. Well, then all you get is a pickpocket one. And that's a great way to just be like, well, I guess I'm a fucking pickpocket now. Like, you don't really need to do a lot more than that.
Or you could be a mugger, or you could be a false back. I mean, if you have 10 shillings, you could.
Right, you could have 3 left over. Yeah. But I also like that without saying it, this also kind of, which I wouldn't mind if they also did say it, this also kind of goes, well, there is no classes really, right? So you can build a class kind of based on your equipment that you pick, right? Like if you want to be a pickpocket, if you want to be a mugger, if you want to do this or that, just like be like, well, I want to be a teacher or whatever. And it's like, well, then take like glasses and a book or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I like that you can like build a personality of your class around that. It's really neat.
And the pigeon catcher. Here I'm going to do that thing again and compare it to Wolves Upon the Coast, just because that's the thing that I'm most familiar with from Lou Gehrig. And say like that was my favorite part about Wolves Upon the Coast. It had like you rolled money, and if you bought equipment with that money, and then it went away immediately as the game started, so you had to use that money, or it had starter kits like that. So whatever class you wanted to be was 100% based on equipment, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Especially when you have something like this, which is very much like an OSR. It's a framework, right? And that's what a lot of the OSR games realistically are, especially the ones that are very much like not 5e, aka not hand-holding you through a pre-written story. A lot of them are frameworks where you can build on or add on the rules and or bits and pieces that you want for your table. It gives you the opportunity to customize a little bit. So having that as an option is really, really great. And then another insanely stunning piece. One of the things that's great about piece. The thing about David Hoskins' art too is the movement in it, and all the pieces. Nothing is just like looking straight ahead at you, right? The lady laughing in the background with the guy pinching his nose, like every part of it has this really incredible movement, and again, the line work is insane. Going from the background to the brick on the side, ridiculous.
Although I was wrong, good. Brown's tobacco is the worst one. It's Richard's Reserve, which I was thinking of.
Gotta get that.
It's a proper reserve. Backy Wizard. But yeah, so we're moving on to this and that. And this is just stuff that.
Well, there's the character sheet. We got the character.
Oh, I forgot about the character sheet. I'm sorry. Character
sheet. I wonder if this will let me to view this if it's on the same. Oh, it is. It is. It's on the same little backy back. So it's a 2-page character sheet.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love the criminal record.
It's pretty long. Yeah. There's a whole long section for that. I do like the it is a pretty sparse character sheet. There's aside from the little designs around the stats, it's not like a crazy art sheet. I love crazy art sheets, don't get me wrong. I also don't mind a simple little character sheet too.
Let me tell you, the more games that I run with my table, the more different games, the more often I'm like, man, the crazy art character sheets are really cool visually to look at, but they're really inconvenient for those things that you want to notate on the character sheet that are outside of what you're like the prescribed things on the character sheet, which happens in the game. Like stuff happens, you want to add little things to your character sheet. This has a lot of open space, which I really appreciate because my characters take notes on their character sheets about stuff that happens to them, you know?
Yeah. Completely agree. It is a pretty bare bones sheet, but I like you just said, I think there's a lot of space to do a lot of interesting stuff with it, which is really cool.
I like the fences part. You can keep a list of who you can fence to, either standard or occult. I'm like, oh, good info.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the list for like prosthetics and prosthetics and ailments and stuff on the bottom is fantastic. So everything. And then the inventory, it tells you straight up. Like, I love that it only gives you obviously, I mean, why wouldn't it? Only the set of the amount that you can max out on all the different things you can have. But we don't know that because we haven't got to the rules section for that yet. Yeah. Right. All right. Moving on.
It's just interesting that's not at the end of the book.
I mean, yes, I agree. I don't
think I care. I'm just saying it's, as opposed to what everyone else does, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, because it's nice to have it at the end because then you can just, I guess, print the last 2 pages. But like, if you have a PDF reader, you can just export these
print
two.
Any page. Yeah.
Yeah. You can print fucking anything you want. I don't know if I don't remember if anything, I think, and I could be mistaken because did you back Swyvers?
Yeah.
Did you just got a PDF, right? There's no like character sheet. There's nothing else, right? It was just the PDF.
Probably, but I'm gonna be honest. I have to reorganize my files for tabletop games on my computer, so maybe don't quote me on that.
Yeah. This and that.
Yeah, this and that. Another really great art piece. I also like that some of these art pieces really inform you how to commit crimes in the game. Like this guy is like has his cloak open. He's offering to sell things to this one guy to another person, and behind that person is a woman, assumably, pickpocketing him while he's distracted by this like seller of cheap things. It's a really great piece. Also, and I would try to recreate this in game and be like, oh yeah, like hey, look at all the stuff I got inside my coat while my buddy's rifles through his drawers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great piece. Sorry, just gotta. But gorgeous piece. So going into this and that. So this is interesting that this is the next section in the book, and we briefly kind of been like, huh, it's interesting that that's there. So what is? Do you want to go through this and that?
Yeah, I'll go through this and that.
Yeah.
This is another, I think, section of the book that I really actually read through pretty deeply because I like these tables. I also just like the way they look. I like how it's not like straight lines. I like that it's like little dotted lines to divide each thing on the table. I think I just enjoyed going through this.
They're nice looking tables. They are nice looking tables. They don't feel heavy on the page. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do think it makes a difference. There's enough delineation between each thing that you know where it is on the table, but it's not like, I don't know. I agree. It's visually lighter for some reason. So for when you got a penny to spend, the asterisk denotes a large item that requires 2 slots, page 35. The little, I think it's a dagger, marks an item which must be held or strapped in place. The pound sign or hashtag items can be stacked in a single. You good?
Yeah, I love that we're old enough to call it a pound sign.
Hey, it's still called a pound sign sometimes. If you call a place, they don't say hit hashtag to do whatever. They say hit. Actually, that's so true. When players sell items, most merchants will pay 50% of the value. In the case of illegal traceable goods, such as jewelry, rare books, family heirlooms, etc., a fence will be required. Page 35. Cash. 1 pound is equal to 20 shillings is equal to 240 pence. 1 shilling is equal to 12 pence. £1, 8 shillings, and 4 pence is denoted as 1L or L1 8S 4D. So a little cipher right there for you to figure out the currency.
Yep.
Fuck you, you British fuck. Yeah, I mean, I think these tables are very sufficient and they're also interesting. I think the ones where they really shine is like food and drink, odds and ends, prescribed goods. So maybe we'll. I mean, food and drink is they're just funny. Like there's gutter liquor and there's good liquor. There's pretty much a delineation for like products that you can buy from like the absolute fucking trash to what nobles have, you know. But let's go to oh god, you have something?
Well, I mean, the best part of a lot of these tables is that with a lot of them, it's not just ale. There's a descriptor for all of them after.
Yes, there is a descriptor.
And the descriptors are freaking hysterical.
Yeah. Gutter liquor rots your teeth and your belly. That is your spelled Y-E-R.
Yep.
And yeah, I think once again, going through this is very much Luke Gehring's like a very funny sense of like writhing humor. Oh yeah, 24 eggs is on there. That's so funny.
Yeah, 24 eggs.
You could eat these instead of a rat ration, but that's far too many eggs. So fucking stupid. I think we should read prescribed goods because I think this has a lot of lore implication to it, right? So
there's a lot of that through it. A lot of it is random little stuff, but then there's also like, oh shit, like this is huge, you know?
Yes. If you get this book, which I think you should, I really do like this book. I like this game. You should read all the items in here because it really, in a very good way, tell the lore of this world without having to read the deep lore of like the smoke, which is not like, it's not like there's a whole fucking Bible in here of it, but it's very much that like Dark Souls thing where you read item descriptions, you learn about the world even more. You know that game you love, Dark Souls.
Well, I love Dark Souls lore and stuff.
Yeah, there we go. So prescribed goods. The first one you have is the forged mayoral seal. This is worth 50, whatever the highest amount of money was. Pounds, 50 pounds. I knew that. Yeah, it's a mayoral seal. Force wardens and guardmen to let you get away with it. 50% chance of being discovered each time it's used after the first. I like that. You use it the first time and it works. And after that, you can keep trying to use it. But each time, you're going to kind of roll to see whether or not it takes. You have a forged warden seal, only useful in one district. So the mayoral seal, anywhere. Forged warden seal is going to be whatever district that warden is over. It can save your skin. Guardsmen have got to let it slide when you flash it. And once again, 50% chance of being caught after the first time you use it. And then you have the forged permit to carry a weapon, only good for one district. But Lord Permissible is known for his many agents and the weapons they carry. Cheers to him. And then the last one is Prepared Corpse. Don't cross people you sell these to. Just don't.
I love that it's forged thing, dead body.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a mayor over all the smoke. There are wardens over its separate districts. You need a permit to carry a weapon within a district. It's just good information about the world and how the game is going to work as you play it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. From there, I mean, there's a lot of tables. I think.
Yeah. Light and fuel, odds and sods, smoking. So when I first started reading armor, I was like, why is armor here? But then I do like that it all says as seen on this other page, as seen on this other page. Yeah. So this isn't the only place you get armor, but it's interesting that it's not the same armor page. So really to get all of the armor information, you need to read this armor page and the other armor page, which this is like the item list armor. And that's like the rules armor.
If you want a quick reference when you're like out shopping, where your characters are out shopping, like this is all together. It's very convenient for that. It's just not the rules necessarily for all of it.
Yeah. But I mean, the writing on this is, I love this stuff. So the shield, big and clumsy, but keeps you one piece. Helmet keeps your brain box together. And then the cobbled together breastplate. If you squint, it looks sturdy. Only some sort of pauper knight would wear this. Like, again, the descriptions through all of the lists make this book realistically. I mean, the writing is hysterical, but as you said, there's lore on so much of it. Even as you were talking with this, there's a whole thing about smoking and the good tobacco and the bad tobacco and the bad tobaccos and the starter kit and like all the rest of that. This is environmental storytelling through lists and things like that. Like you said, there is a section about the smoke, and I think it's like half a page as far as like the lore of the smoke.
Yeah,
and there's so much world building in these parts, and it's amazing.
I think we're often critical of like shopping lists in games. Yeah, especially you. I think this is how you do that, and you make it really incredibly high value. Is that like there's a description for every item. All the descriptions are written like in universe, like lore and language. I mean, obviously it's just incredibly British, but that's in universe still. And it makes going through it like it's not just like a fucking long list of how much gold everything costs. It's like an actual information.
Yeah, because my issue with just a shopping list, right, oftentimes is you're giving a value for a thing, but a value of anything is supply and demand, right? If you really need a fucking shovel, that's going to cost, and someone knows you really need a shovel, it's going to cost you more. Right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're a prospector going to go mine for gold, a pickaxe is going to cost a ton of money, right? But if you're just some dude in the middle, a pickaxe could cost nothing because they have a million pickaxes. So just give me a list of how much things cost. Like I prefer those lists where we see like this is cheap and then here's a bunch of stuff. This is middle, here's a bunch of stuff. This is expensive, here's a bunch of stuff. Just determine what that means for you.
Yeah.
But as you said, this where you get the in-language lore and stuff, if you're gonna give me a list of stuff with values, make it funny and interesting and full of great information, and it's perfect. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, moving on to weapons, because there's a little bit of a note on weapons. I mean, there's a note on armor too, but it's just there's several different kinds of armor, how good it is. But I do really like in the weapons, the kind of speaking again to what we've been talking about, the very first one is shank, right? And every man in the smoke carries a shank. That's just the way it is. Immediately, I know that every man that we come across in that city is armed with a shank of some kind. Most of them, if they're poor, they're probably going to be a ropey shank. Maybe they'll have a decent shank. A noble would have a mint shank because there's the 3 classes of weapon. It's just more good, you know.
I like the denotion too. All weapons are assumed to be wearable in a belt or something, unless they have an asterisk. So it's basically like you can just strap this on unless it's too big, and all you have to do is see the asterisk, because obviously a poleaxe ain't gonna get strapped to your belt. You know, a crossbow, a poon ain't fitting on your belt. You gotta when you're looking for some poon, it's two-handed. You know. Yeah. The whalers sling them about. You know, got a rope attached to them. Those poons. You know.
I like the crossbow. A small and powerful. Shame the Continentals invented it. Yeah.
Well, the bigger crossbow says less small, more powerful. So yeah, the writing, the self-reference. Again, we could just talk about this. Could literally just be a stream about how fucking funny Lou Gehrig's writing is, right?
Yeah.
But still, like, it's not just humor, right? It's fantastic. And then like the humor and the dry humor just adds such a great level to it. And you just do it all day.
Yeah, and moving forward, there is a. Do you want to go over weapon specials or no?
Oh, it's gonna come up in the general rules, so we can do it now or later. Okay. Yeah.
There's a hired list, like a hireling list. There's prosthetics. A lot of really good stuff here. I would like to point out the very last thing on prosthetics, though, is big sideburns, free with patience. Just cover it up with some big ol' sideburns, mate. Just fucking. Oh, you lost an ear? Big sideburns.
There
They
you
won't see
go.
it. You know?
Yeah, burned. You got burned. Yeah, there you go. Big sideburns. Yeah, the free with patience thing, it kills me. It kills me.
Yeah. It's so fucking dumb. God
so
damn it.
fucking, yeah,
And
I
the
love
rest
it.
is the prosthetics section is incredibly
pretty big.
robust and long.
Yeah. Well, you know
can
what a
lose
giant
anything.
prosthetic section tells me?
That you're gonna need it.
You gotta fucking need it.
Yeah.
No. It's literally, I mean, the feet one, the lead boot got me. You can get a foot prosthetic as a lead boot. Hope you're not planning on getting anywhere quick. Guess you could take a shortcut by kicking down every door in the way. Anyway, yeah, it's really great. And there's still more.
Yeah, this section goes on for
the animals,
animals,
and
and then the gentleman's guide to pet discipline, or the geezer's guide to schooling your hound. It basically just tells you what hounds can do and what you can do with them. And then there's an incredibly great and long list of breeds of hounds, ignoble and noble. That gives you more information on dogs. You can absolutely have dogs. I would do it. After that, I believe is investments.
Yeah, it's a D20 table of freaking dogs. I rolled a 15. I got the ankle biter pancake. It hides very well and always trained to attack at the drawing of a weapon, short-legged and quite flat. 15 silver or shillings. They're evil-eyed mush muncher. Great. They're great.
Yeah,
they're great. Yeah.
After that, you have investments. You can invest in stuff. It does give you a certain amount of clout and currency, but does not represent ownership. You can own property. There's pretty much everything you need for like a fairly robust game.
Yeah. Again, small rule set, full set of tools. Full set of tools.
Yeah, it really is.
You can
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you can make a small, like a one shot from this or a multi-year campaign from this very easily.
Absolutely. And then you have improvements that you can do to whatever property you buy. And then do you want to go over one?
And then
of those
we get to
there?
general rules.
Okay. Then we get to general rules.
Then we get to general rules. So I have mixed feelings about this and that being where it was. And I still do. I think having a giant shopping list before you even get to the general rules being on what page, like 2024 or something like that, 2022 of the book that starts on like page 4 is interesting, as opposed to the general rules being earlier. The one argument is that it's a book, you can always flip back to the other parts. My argument is always, first read, first impressions are important. If someone bounces off your stuff, like it should be a good read on the first read, because someone might put it down. There's a million games. And then I kept thinking, why would you put the shopping list and stuff after character creation? But it's like, well, because that's all the stuff the character needs, I guess.
Yeah, the character starts with some shillings to buy stuff. So feasibly, a lot of that is, some of it is going to be what you buy. I feel like, property and investments and stuff are just there by the fact that it's already where the shopping list is. So it makes sense for them to go together. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't love that it was before general rules, but I don't hate it,
I mean, there's obviously a logic to it. Character creation, yes. You have money, you need to buy stuff, so let's put all the stuff that you buy and then get to the rules. The counterpoint to that would be armor is listed, and then you list that you can see armor stuff later. So why not just say you can find all of this and that to buy stuff with later, and then put it later, before adversaries and arseholes and stuff. Like, it could have just been a reference to a later page. Character creation with like the trinkets and stuff, followed by general rules, and then get to the shopping stuff and the rest, in my mind, seems more logical, because you're getting a lot of information for how the world works without understanding how the game works, right? Yeah, but
so all of the armor that you could possibly buy is in that section. The armor section later on in the book is just the rules for how armor works.
That was just I'm sorry, that was just like an example, right? Like, but like even smoking stuff and stuff, you're like, well, I want to start with this or that. Like, well, it's because it's called this and that, right? It makes sense. There's a logic to why it's there. I wouldn't mind if it was later. I personally would prefer the rules before getting to that, because then I'll understand a little bit more of why I want the things I want.
Totally.
You know, I wouldn't mind knowing how armor works before I get to armor, and how weapons work before I get to weapons and stuff.
That's probably fair.
So general rules. There's not a whole lot. Another fantastic page of a dude dying and a lady looking nonplussed. Yeah.
A million fucking arrows.
So a lady is not getting fucked. What?
Oh yeah.
Because I said, and there's a lady, and you weren't getting. Anyway. There's a lady in a tower who maybe this person was coming to see or whatever. And not only do I love that there's a million arrows hitting this guy, there's a million more coming in, but it's the dude in the window pushing him down with like a spear that really gets me.
Stabbing down at them. Yeah, this guy obviously got cornered into a trap, you know, and he's got, I just counted the arrows and I already forgot. He's got 20 something arrows either in him or flying at him. It's like, I think he's dead. Yeah. I think that man's dead.
Yeah. Well, he's got literally the one that's sticking out of his head. I feel like that one might have done it. And then the other one, two, the 4 that are in his chest might also do it. The one in his leg, and then the other many that are gonna hit him. And then that lady in the window that's just, I don't know. She seems nonplussed. I can't tell if she's just like, well, okay. So general rules. Here we go. So this is the rules of the game. We talked about the book states that it is a very light rule set attached to a full toolbox of stuff. And I agree, it is a very light rule set. And as I said before, I think it's light to the point of maybe missing some things. We're going to talk about that a little bit right now. So this is the game. So there are 2 main types of rolls in Swyvers. There's competing rolls, what it sounds like, right? You roll against people and try to roll higher. And then there's a roll under, where you attempt to roll lower than a target number, often based on your attributes, but sometimes not. And that's representing the difficulty, right? Some people, I hear a lot of people call Swyvers like Blades in the Dark. They compare it to Blades in the Dark. I really genuinely think it's just like Thief City kind of stuff. If there's no real, because I mean that's what Blades in the Dark is, right? You play thieves in a city, right? And there is like a dice pool, but not really, because the dice that is a difficulty not based on attribute. There's no real comparison. No,
there's
system.
There's not. Yeah. It's not at all. Other than
I would just say, you play thieves in one specific city, which is what Blaze is. You play thieves in whatever.
People call this like a Blades in the Dark type of game. But it doesn't work the same. Pretty much at
Again,
all.
I think it's mostly themes, or maybe a misconception of a quote unquote dice pool, because you can roll 3, 4, 5 d6 and stuff like that. But there's no aspect of this that would be Blades. And again, cut 150, 200 pages off of Blades and great game, you know. So general rules, skills and saves. I'm gonna get pedantic-y or point out-y when we talk about skills and saves. So skills and saves, it's on the player to decide whether their Swyver attempts to do a skill or a save. The difference being that a skill represents an action you take and a save represents a reaction to something. I love that. It's how I like to play games. It's how I talk about skills and saves. So hearing it written out very obviously that way is great. And the player can decide whether they're acting or being acted upon. Obviously the GM too, obviously it's a discussion, right? If a Swyver has an appropriate attribute, it is used as the target number to roll equal to or under, right? So you roll 3d6 in the beginning. If your stat is 9, right, you're rolling under 9, right? What are you rolling? We don't know yet. They don't say it in this section.
I didn't even realize they don't say it in this section. I wish they would.
No. I wish they would. And then if there is no suitable attribute, the GM sets a target number based on how difficult they believe the task to be. And the difficulty is determined either by the number of dice used when checking against an attribute or the value set by the GM, never both. So there's 2 different ways that you can set difficulty of a skill check or a save. And that really is determined by whether you have an appropriate attribute or not. Right? I'm curious why they say attribute, because there are only 3 attributes. I'm curious if maybe that was supposed to be skill, because everything can fit into realistically one of those 3 attributes, right? But I'm going to talk about skills a little bit more. But yeah, we'll get into the issue kind of that I have here. So skills takes all kinds of skills to get by here. So a skill roll is used when a Swyver attempts an action with no guaranteed success, right? Standard OSR terminology, right? It should only be used if discussion and negotiation cannot determine the outcome. And I do like the explanation here and the way that Luke explains this. Good candidates for skills and skill rolls are generally actions requiring training, actions which rely on information that the Swivers might have access to, actions relying on a Swyver's physique or abilities alone, and then things which can, parentheses, and in the author's opinion should, parentheses, be resolved without skill rolls are conversations with NPCs, searching locations. Stop doing fucking perception. Like, hiding or being stealthy, noticing hidden objects and details. Players should be asking the GM. Don't hide important information behind skill checks because the players will inevitably fail when you want them to have information. Bro, like, you see a room. Okay, I explore it thoroughly. All right, give me a DC 15 perception check. Fuck off.
I will always, first off, great part, amazing part. Yeah. Well, this part should be in more games. But I always point to the time I played 5e with a group and I jumped over a massive wall using a spell. I can't remember, who the fuck cares. And I looked over the wall and I was like, do I see anything? He's like, make a perception roll. I'm like, no, fucker, I'm looking over a goddamn wall. There's no fog or anything. And later on, the GM was like, man, I really wish you had seen what was over that wall. I'm like, then why'd you make me roll for it? And he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
5e coded brain. Yeah. Anyway, so where possible, a suitable attribute is chosen. See uncertain skills and saves. And then for competing roles, there's a different role for competing roles versus the regular role, which has 2 different kinds of difficulty. For competing roles, both parties roll a D12, adding the most relevant attribute and any relevant skills. The highest total value wins. So this is the first time we know what dice to roll. And that's for competing roles. Mm-hmm. Right? So then we get to the top here. It says, when leveling up, a Swyver may choose to improve a skill by 1. This means that the related attribute value or target value is treated as 1 higher for the purposes of determining success. These skills should be relatively narrow, discrete, and not related to combat. This will come back. Not related to combat. Some good examples include, there's a huge list here. They're great. Lockpicking, which is rolling against dex, acrobats for dex, pickpocketing dex, scaling walls, strength, bending things, strength, smashing doors down, strength, drinking contest, con, disguise, based on specificity of disguise, first aid, appraisal of goods, historical knowledge, forgery, right? Those are good skills that you can have, right? And there's an example here, 2 different examples. I'm going to come back to the examples after I explain the next 2 parts, right? So now we're going to get to how you roll dice when it is not a competing, when it is a skill or a save. It is pool-ish, but it's just because you are trying to roll below a certain number. So the more dice you're rolling, you're not taking like the lowest 2. You're rolling all of the dice to get below a number.
It
so
gets
obviously
exponentially harder as you add dice to the pool.
Which is a really interesting, I've not seen, if this isn't something else, bully for them. I've not seen a roll under system where you keep adding more dice to stay under a number.
It's on Wolves. It's in Wolves Upon the Coast.
Well, so Luke's gearing the other big thing. Yeah. So 2d6, an average bloke could do this probably, or something else under pressure, smashing down a rickety door, climbing over a short wall. So basically, the answer to what dice do you roll is always just, it fucking depends, apparently, right? Like, there is no standard. I guess the lowest difficulty skill is 2d6. Right. But it's never 2d6 and add more, right? It's always you're setting a difficulty with the number of dice you're rolling. So 2d6, average anybody could do this stuff. 3d6, an average bloke probably couldn't do this, climbing out of a pit deeper than you are tall, picking a lock. So that becomes like a little bit more specialized. 4d6, attempting this is pretty unhinged, leaping between distant buildings, smashing down a good wall with your fists. And then 5d6, an amazing feat, dragging a dead cow single-handed, catching arrows out of the air. I like if people stick to this, and I feel like people are going to slide down this though. But
In what way?
basically in that, like, oh, this seems hardish, I'm going to make it 5d6, but 5d6 is literally like,
That's
impossible.
almost fucking impossible. Yeah.
you should never be, in my opinion, for most things, you should never be rolling over 3d6.
No, most
Right.
like actually fairly challenging things, I would say probably hover around a 3.
Yes.
Like anything above mundane zone. I mean, I think it's laid out perfectly. I definitely would
Yeah.
not be sliding to. I mean, also I know how dice work. So I would not be sliding to the harder ones on this. I'd be like, we're gonna be holding steady at the lower 2 probably for most things.
But because here's the thing too, right? Say that your attribute is, and because you're rolling against an attribute on this. If you're increasing dice, it is against an attribute number.
Yeah.
Right. So if your dex is 4, or a dex is 9, 2d6 to roll under 9. Okay, right? Average 7, you're close. 3d6 under 9, average is 9, right? 4d6, you're what? 5d6? The odds of you rolling 5d6? You have to roll 4 1s and like 1 2, and that's a 6 right there. That's crazy.
And when
So
you're rolling 3d6 for your stats, like I rolled a couple for this, and I rolled like a 5 for a stat. I rolled.
I just rolled
4 for one and a 10 for another. So you could potentially have a 10 for a stat, maybe, but you're more likely not.
I rolled a 10, a 13, and a 9.
Now, you rolled better than I did. I rolled for my guy last night. I rolled a 4, a 5, and a 10.
That sounds
which is
that
sounds
great,
right?
Yeah, and that's why skills come in, and we'll talk about skills here in a second. So then we'll get to saves. So saves is a little bit different. Sometimes you're the one in the shit. Saves are used to avoid something. Usually when you fucked up. I love that. It is on the player to decide quickly how they attempt to avoid a hazard by rolling under an appropriate skill. It does not say roll under or equal to.
It does not.
But in the other section, it says if you have an appropriate, it is used as a target number to roll equal to or under. So in the skills and save section, it does say equal to or under. Right? We're going to pause for a moment because Hunter walked away.
Right.
So in the skills and save section, it says if a survivor has an appropriate attribute, it is used as a target to roll equal to or under. But then you get to the save section, because that's the skill and save section. The save says, it just says roll under. It doesn't say equal to or under. So there's a little bit of
it's a slightly harder roll.
No. What I'm saying is this is not the skills section. It says skills and saves. And then under skills and saves, it says if they have an appropriate attribute, you roll equal to or under. It's not separating skill or save there.
You're right. That is the skills.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you get to the save section, it just says roll under. It doesn't say the equal to. And that seems like a small thing, but it's that's kind of important to know whether it's equal to or under, because that one thing could make a big difference. So there are examples here of the attributes and why you would save. Constitution is toughing it out, usually means taking reduced damage rather than avoidance. Dexterity, seeing something and dodging out of the way, grabbing something falling, and strength is hauling yourself or someone else out of the way, leaping over something. Pretty standard, right? Again, saves are reactions to things and skills are actions towards a thing, right? So there's another example over here. I do want to, before I touch on the all of the examples, I want to hit uncertain skills and saves. So book learning and studying is only good for knobs, probably. So in the case of a skill roll or save which does not have an obvious attribute, use 3d6 and consult the table below for a rough guideline of suitable numbers to roll equal to or below. So this is, again, a section where it says equal to or below, but in the save section, I think they're just missing the equal to there, right? As a subject to any skill bonuses. So there's a table here, and this is basically a target number table, right? So there's difficulty description and the value to match a roll below. So there's easy but under pressure, specialist knowledge, quite difficult, very hard, and nearly impossible. Easy under pressure is a 17. It says something else normally but tricky under pressure, mounting a horse, hopping a short wall. Pretty easy. 17 is a crazy, that's a high number to roll under. If you go down to mid, right, quite difficult. Advanced students might know a little. Properties of a rare and unusual flower or a good forgery, that's a 10. The lowest, nearly impossible, is a 6. So no one but the most learned sages, an entirely novel insight into the obscure, a forgery more convincing than the real thing. So those are the examples or those are the values you can do. So I want to go back and read through. There's 2 sets of examples of play here based on for skills and saves and how they work, right? So they're good because when I first read this, it did take me a second to be like, so wait, there are really 2 very distinct ways to set a difficulty here. But I'm still trying, so Big Dave is attempting to smash down a door. This is clearly strength. Their strength is 14, meaning that's your target number. He also has +2 in smashing down doors from his skills, because he has skills somehow. We'll get there. Increasing the value to 16. The door itself is huge, sturdy thing of oak. The GM sets the difficulty to 3d6, right? So it's a giant door, so the difficulty is a little bit harder. So he has to roll 3d6 under 16, because he has a 14 and then +2 for knocking down doors. They roll an 8, boom, you did it, right? The next one, Harry Needle Jenkins wants to see if the fence is cheating with his offer of some paintings they borrowed. There's no obvious attribute for this check. Makes sense, right? That is a good example of something that it doesn't really fit under Constitution, Strength, or Dex. Is like, can I tell if this dude is lying, right? I want to see if he's cheating me. Absolutely great example. That made it super clear to me for the stuff that doesn't fall under attribute, because there is no wisdom, there is no intellect or anything like that, right? It's con, strength, and dex, very bodily skills. So it seems like with a lot of, or very bodily attributes, so a lot of the skills are going to be more of your social and intellectual things, or the non-attribute ones. That's where you're going to set difficulty a lot, which I thought was interesting too, because if you look at difficulty, those are all physical. The difficulty dice roll one, but if you look at difficulty of setting a number one, those are almost all mental, right? Hopping a short wall, but like doing a forgery, knowing a trade secret, those are all relatively mental. So that also helped me kind of realize that a lot of your setting a target numbers are going to be more of your social and intellectual stuff, and a lot of your attribute roll under attribute stuff is going to be more physical, because obviously your attributes are mostly physical. So this one says they want to see if the fence is cheating them. There's no obvious attribute, so the GM checks the notes on the painting. They're pretty obscure, so he sets the target number at 12, which is relatively low. It's quite near the middle of like the hard difficulty. They don't know much about anything else, so he attempts to beat a 12 on 3d6, because 3d6 is the average. If you don't have, it's what you always roll on uncertain skills and saves. So as a non-attribute skill, they're always rolled under 3d6. He gets a 14 and fails. You can't ask this again. He just doesn't know if the dude's cheating him. Sucks to suck. Great examples there, I think, of the 2 ways to set difficulty in 2 different ways. The other one is saves. I'll only do one of these. There's 4 of them. There's 4 examples for saves, which are great. Big Dave, being a huge brute, back to Dave, attempts to jump the edge. Oh, so this is a whole story. So let's do the whole thing real quick. The group failed to check the path ahead and have walked straight into a pit trap. The combined weight of Big Dave, Sharp Larry, and Gasser Bert caused the false floor to begin collapsing.
So they failed at something. Here's how each of them is going to deal with it.
Right. The pit trap is falling, and as the floor collapses, here's what they do. Big Dave, big dude, attempts to jump from the edge of the bridge using strength. He's pretty close to the edge. It's hard, but they set it to a 3d6 he has to roll under, right? Physical. Sharp Larry attempts to use dex to sprint off the false floor, but he's towards the back of the group, or he's towards the back of the group where it didn't collapse. It's not too difficult, sets a 2d6, but Gasser Bert also tries to run using his dex to cross all the way to the other side, but he's further from the edge, so they set it to 4d6. So different ways to set it. That works great. I'm going to go through just the beginning of fighting, and then let's talk about the issue that I kind of talked about with skills. So fighting. Fight means something's gone wrong for somebody. Why else would you be trying to kill someone? Make sense? It should be pretty obvious when a fight's starting. Ambushing someone means they won't get a chance to react. Ignore them in the initiative line in the first round. Great. To hit, you roll 2d10, which has nothing to do with skills and save rolls. It's an entirely different roll, which is also different than the competing rolls, which is a d12. Right?
Gotcha.
And then you add your fighting skill. Okay. If you roll equal to or higher than the defense value, you hit. Cool. We're going to take a pause. We're going to take a pause real quick on fighting and come back to it. What does fighting skill derive from?
I don't have any idea, because I think if you go back up to skills, it says do.
No. Very top of the page, right? 24 on the right.
Is it very top right? Okay, go. You read it, but I can't find mine.
Yeah. This skill should be relatively narrow, discreet, and not related to combat. So let's go.
So where did the fighting skill come from?
Couldn't even fucking tell you, right? And let's just talk about my only real gripe with this game, realistically, is what we're going to talk about right now. How many skills do you start with? Right? We know how to advance a skill. It says at the top there, when leveling up, a Swyver may choose to improve a skill by 1. Where do you get the skill to begin with?
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. I think the way that I internally logic this out is that you don't start with any skills, and when you level up, you get a skill to 1, which is not quite improved. I mean, I guess it is improving a skill. It's just a skill you didn't have. You gain a skill, I guess. I think that's how it's run.
Let's say that is how it's run. Then realistically, what should be in the book, right? That line that says you don't start with the skills. The first time you level up, you can pick one, right? And then that means if you by level 5, you should have 5 skills. But then also, where does fighting skill derive from? Right?
Yeah, that one I straight up don't know. So
there's just no. All the rules make sense. We're gonna keep going. I like the rules. It's really interesting. I even like how why we're using 18 different dice to do 10 different fucking things. Right?
Yeah, I do think that's pretty funny, actually.
But there's a complete lack of explanation on. Like, I know how to do a skill roll, but I don't know where they come from, what they're derived from, when I can get them, how many I start with, where fighting skills derive from. Nothing. It doesn't say start with 3. It doesn't say you get your first skill on level up. It doesn't say. It says no explanation whatsoever on how many you have, when you have them, or anything. It just says there's a list of picking them, right? Which ones are good ones, but does that mean how many do I get to start the game with? You know?
See, I think for me, the first part's more forgivable, right? We went through character creation. You start with what you start with. You don't start with any skills. When you level up, you improve a skill. I'm willing to concede that. Could it be worded better? Absolutely. The part that actually bothers me.
Worded it all.
Worded it all, right. Could that be put in there better than saying you improve a skill? You improve or gain a skill. Yes, I think that'd be much, much better. But the one that does actually bother me is the fighting skill. Because what the fuck is a fighting skill, bro?
Yeah.
Did I miss something reading this?
No, I have scoured back and forth. I have Control F'd skill to try to find more. If it's in there, my God, I don't know how I missed it. I would love someone to explain it a little bit better. But as far as I can tell, on reading this book 3 times and really trying to dig, there is no explanation on how many skills you start with, or when you can improve a skill, but when can you take one, right? We can intuit parts, we can guess at parts, right? But that's not, you really shouldn't be guessing in the rules. The rules should tell you. And then there's no explanation whatsoever what the fighting skill is derived from at all. Is it from your dex? Is it from your range? Does it change based on the weapon type? Because we do understand how defense works, because defense is part of your initiative,
right?
But fighting skill, again, unless I'm a completely miss it. Maybe did we dig through the weapon section? Is somehow the weapons related to
I'm looking
fighting
at weapons
skill?
right now. Weapons are only denote damage length, how many hands they take to wield, anything special about them.
Yeah. So
we have to miss something. There has to be something.
If we missed it, fuck us, right? But from what I can tell,
specifically you.
Yeah, right. Me specifically. Fuck me. But it just seems as if it's just missing. It's just missing. There's no that we can find explanation on how many skills you start with, when you can take them, other than that you can improve them at level up, or what your fighting skill is, or what it's derived from. Because when you go back to the character creation section, the only derived number it gives you is what, your constitution, right? Is that what it says that your hit points equal to constitution.
Yeah.
It doesn't say like fighting skill equal to strength or something like that, you know? I did use the quick tool to go back to the table of contents, to go back to the...
I did too. I've used it several times.
Good.
It's really
so good.
Yeah.
Please, everybody do this. Everybody do this,
everyone
please.
do this. There's no reason to not do it. It's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
If you're going to hyperlink your table of contents, having just one little button on the page that also takes you back to the table of contents makes it's infinitely more navigable. It's so great. And I assume that hyperlink could just be like copy pasted through. I mean, we'll see. Anyway, so that is the big gripe that we have for the game. Other than that, that's pretty much it. And we're going to go through the rest of the rules real quick.
What is fighting skill?
Right. So then let's go back to fighting real quick, run through that again. So basically, when you fight, right, to fight, you roll 2d10, you add your fighting skill, don't know what that is. And then if you roll equal to or higher than the defense value, you hit. That's easy. So fighting is equal to or higher, and skills and saves is equal to or lower. But fighting is 2d10, and skills are d6, 2d6, 3d6, 4d6, right? And then there's a table here for critical miss. If you go to the top of the next page, it says when a player rolls 2 results of 10 on an attack roll, they instantly slay the target if possible. Love that. If you crit on 2d10, they're fucking dead. I enjoy that. I like non-bullet spongy stuff. If the PCs roll double 10s, it's just a hit. Whatever, fuck them. Rolling 2 results of a 1 on your attack means you fumbled. Not only do you miss, but you might have really cocked up. You roll in the critical miss table.
It's really cocked up there.
Yeah. So if it's a melee, it's a D8, and if it's ranged, it's a D4. So hit me a D8 and a D4, and let's see how bad you fucked up.
Sorry if I got distracted. My dad just texted me. He's 20 miles west of the Palisades fire right now. So
he should move away from there.
I'm like, you should leave, dude. I rolled double 1s.
Oh, sick. Honestly, couldn't ask for more. So 1, just an appalling miss, thankfully, for a melee. And then some of the later ones, you trip and fall like a big dumb idiot. Counting is prone until you get up again. The swing connects with the nearest ally. The weapon isn't just damaged. You've gone and bloody broken it. Love it. It's a great list. And then D4, the ranged one. I'll check that in just one second. The weapon snaps, has a mechanical function. It's broken. You manage to ricochet the shot back at yourself. The weapon snaps, has a mechanical function. It's broken, right?
Yeah, sorry. I saw that message in chat now, and now I'm interested as well.
Do I have like a non-updated version of the PDF?
I don't know.
Did I
not
get the most recent version? Yeah, I don't know. So someone in chat just listed us a thing here. Maybe that we just have like an older version of the PDF. I thought I got the one that was marked final. And if not, do that. Page 32. Then we will get to it in just a minute. So damage. This is how damage works. You roll damage. The defender rolls armor, because armor in this, and we'll get to it in a little bit, is like Mark Borg. You have a dice you roll for your armor. And then the armor value is deducted from the damage. If it's 0, it's 0. Boom, there you go. Actions in a round. So this has kind of like a Warhammer Fantasy RP roleplay thing. You have full actions and half actions. Each round is 6 seconds. You may take 1 full action or 2 half actions. So full actions is engaging in melee combat, disengaging from melee combat, aiming and shooting, grabbing an item from your belt and using it, casting a spell, fetching something from your pack or sack. Full actions. That's all you can do in a round. And then half actions is running away. You'll go further if you do nothing. Snapping off a quick shot at a -4 penalty, which I think is really interesting to just be able to, like, I didn't even aim. I just shot it out there. Drawing an item from a bag, but not using it. And then passing an item to someone else. I like that. And I like that it gives you, that's obviously not everything you can do. Right. I like that it gives you the enough that it's a vibe, and basically like doing a big thing is a full action and doing a small thing is half action. It is run with that, and I do love the full action two half action thing. It's something to think about with all of the games, as opposed to the you get an action and a move situation. You know, it's interesting. Defenses and initiative. So this is interesting. I don't remember what version of older, D&D used this. I need to dig into the older stuff more. But basically, the defense is based on your weapon, as is your initiative, and nobody wants to get hit. So being armed is the best way to stop that. So there's a list here of how it works, right? And it goes. You begin casting a spell that finishes at the end of the round, and that's the first round, right? Like, first in the round is whoever's casting a spell, and their defense value is 6. So that is your initiative. No one rolls initiative, do whatever. If someone's casting a spell, they go first, and their defense is at 6. And you have to roll over that, right? Equal to or over to get hit, right? If you're shooting something, your defense value is a 6, and you go next. Then if you're unarmed, it's a 6. Short weapon is an 8. Medium weapon is a 10. Short weapon plus shield is a 10. Long weapon is a 10. Medium weapon plus shield is a 12. And then long weapon plus shield is a 12. And they go very last in the round. So it really goes from casting a spell to the bulkiest shit you can be carrying in that order every round. Right?
Nice.
And then there's some explanation of that too. You resolve actions down from the top of the table, except on the first round of combat where the order is reversed. Why? My guess, what I thought in my head, what made sense is if two groups are coming together, right, then the longest weapon would hit the closest person first, and vice versa, like until you get to the lowest weapon, and people shooting would probably be farther back. So it kind of makes sense on the first round of combat, but there's no it didn't say that anywhere. I'm just guessing that might be it.
I'm fine with that internal logic,
Yeah. I wouldn't mind an explanation of why. I don't mind it. That's cool. So actions are resolved in the initiative order outlined at the left. This is another reminder to people. Don't put directions to your tables. Just put the name of the table, because I'm reading a PDF in Pages. So the left is chat. Just name the table. Actions are resolved in initiative order, with the announcement of spells being cast, and we'll get to magic later. And then going down, ties with NPCs are resolved with an opposed D6 roll. Ties between Swyvers are negotiated. Monsters that do not use weapons are given an initiative value in their stat block. Boom. I like this a lot. I like being like, don't worry about when your initiative order is, what kind of weapon you has, just tells you, because after the first round, you know what the other people have. And it's interesting.
Yeah,
very easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then there's a difference for when defending against ranged attacks. So when defending against ranged attacks, the above values are replaced with no shield is 12, shield is 16. Basically, like, that's good for you. Cover adds +2. Charging is a thing you can do, which when I read set on weapons before and the item stuff, it made no fucking sense to me. So I had to read charging to understand setting a weapon, which we'll get to in a second. But basically, you can charge, and combatants who charge reverse the initiative order for those involved in combat with them. Meaning longer weapons strike first if you're charging, which is also what made me think, okay, maybe that's why it's reversed on the first round, because longer weapon, you'd hit them first, Swyver who charge subtracts 2 from their defense value. If they're successful, they roll twice the usual number of damage. Cool. Attacks against prone, automatically hit, but +4 against missiles. Flanking is interesting because there's 2 different things you get for it. So different angles of flanking do more. So if you're attacking are made against the unarmed defense value, if you're directly behind them. So it's like a 6. But if you're attacking are from the flanks, which I guess is the angles that are still kind of behind, but not directly behind.
Okay, yeah.
You get a +2 bonus to hit. I like that. I think that's interesting. It gives more variety for your ability, because I hate being like, man, I'm only 1 block away from being able to flank them. But it's like, oh no, you're still behind them ish. Give them a little bonus. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's good. So I appreciate the distinction between those things.
Yeah. Okay, weapons, real quick. 3 varieties: ropey, average, and mint. Right? Very British way of saying shitty, okay, and great. Right? Ropey rolls damage twice and takes the lower. Decent roll once, and mint rolls damage twice and takes a higher. I love that. I love when, especially if a game is just like a D6 game, and like instead like light, medium, and two-handed or whatever is just D6 disadvantage, D6 and D6 advantage. I love that, and this is a way to do that. So they have they have 3 qualities and 3 links: short, long, short, medium, and long. Right. Short you can use while grappling, which is interesting. Medium, nothing special, and long are very awkward in cramped quarters. So if you're in a tight space, you have a -4 penalty. And then set. This is the one that like fucked me up for a little bit till I realized what setting a weapon meant. Because I in my head I kept seeing a crossbow and like setting the crossbow.
Right.
But it's more of like setting the pole arm against your boot so that something running at you runs into it. Because it says weapons which can be set can receive a charge. And in my head, when I first saw that, I was like,
you receive a charge of something. Yeah, but it's actually
like I'm charging up my weapon. Yeah.
Someone's charging at you. If you set your weapon, you can receive their charge and they take damage.
Yes. So it is more explained in context. That could be explained a tiny bit better, but like in the context of once you read the charging and then get to it, you get there. Setting to receive comes in the shooting phase, blah, blah, blah. Reach weapons. There's bonuses. I'm not going to go over all of them. Buy the fucking book. So reach weapons mean you can reach farther. Half sorting means it can be wielded in a shortened form. So instead of having that long weapon that you can't use up tight, you can grab it halfway and still poke. Armor piercing. Yeah. Armor piercing, guess what it does? Thrusting, guess what you do, right? Armor.
I would say combat in this game, pretty fun.
Yeah.
It sounds like you can do a lot of stuff. All of it, like, there's a lot of rules packed in right here. All of them are fairly like maybe not intuitive, might not be the word I'm looking for, but there is a logic, a through line of logic that makes total sense as you go through it. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. If you can charge in this game in real life, if I charge at somebody who has a halberd out and they're set, like they're braced for me to charge, like I'm gonna fucking get hit. So it makes sense that would work the same in this game.
It totally makes sense. And I mean, we say a lot of rules. We've got like 2 pages. Again, this is not a heavy system, but there is a decent amount of like extras. And one of the other things that I love about this combat system, we're going to keep going over a little bit more, is none of it is hidden behind a feat wall. Like, I don't need a heroic feat to fucking set a charge. Like, I don't need to do something special to get the ability to also stab someone with my weapon while I'm grappling. I fucking hate when games hide things that you should just be able to do behind a heroic feat or feats in general or anything like that. And yes, I'm talking about 5e and Dragonbane. It really irritates me when like I can just logically be like, but I just stabbed them. So we're getting to armor. Armor is soak, right? We've already talked about this a tiny bit. So there's different varieties, different types, everything. The dice size listed is the damage absorbed, and basically the rest being applied to the HP. Yeah, it's soak, but you roll for it, exactly in the other one. So you get multiple types of armor. You get patchwork armor, rolls soak twice and uses the lower. Decent roll soak once, and then swank rolls twice and rolls higher, which is the same way weapons work, and I love that there's a cohesiveness to it.
Yeah.
There's a list of armors here, and there's a bigger list on the this and that for that, right? Shields exist. They basically are one-time use, take all your damage, and then they're broken. And then helmets, heavy armor. Helmets, heavy armor, and broken bones is interesting because when you get hit, you break a lot of bones and shit gets fucked up really hard. But what heavy armor does, the benefit it gives you, is you roll a 3+ on your death and dismemberment table, which we'll go over in just a second. So each time it rolls a 3 over, and when we get to the 3 over, you'll see that it breaks bones. It instead doesn't and just breaks the piece of armor. So every piece you have a piece of heavy armor can take 1 hit that would break a bone before breaking a bone. And then the helmet always goes, if you have heavy armor, you always have a helmet, and that covers your head. I like that.
Yeah.
It's a way you add a whole new level of the game with that without really adding too much weight to the system at all. And I really enjoy that a lot. All right. Death and dismemberment table. I love this. Damage represents a weakening of defenses over time. It's not just like a specific wound. Once you are reduced to 0 HP, though, you roll a D6 and a D12 because these blows give you a serious injury. And while you remain at 0 HP, all successive strikes cause another roll on the table, right? So HP is not, it's damage over time. It's not like you hit 0 and suddenly you're dead.
Right.
You have to roll death on the death and dismemberment table to die. You just get the shit kicked out of you over and over and over again until you get some HP back, right? All successful strikes cause another roll on the table below with a +1 bonus per previous roll on the D6 table. So if you've already rolled twice on the table, whatever you roll, you add +2 to. And once you roll 3 on the table, you add +3 to. So you will die. Like, it's not like a matter of if, it's when. I do enjoy that about HP, that it's not just like you're suddenly at 0, you're dead. It's no, you are now rolling for serious injuries every time you do it. So D6 and D12. Why don't you roll me a D12 and a D6, and we'll hit this table and do a couple of these and then run through it and then keep moving on.
I rolled a 6 on a D6 and a 9 on a D12.
Well, any 6 is death.
Yeah.
So you got hit in the left arm and somehow it killed you. Right?
I bled out, you know?
You bled out. So the locations are left leg, right leg, torso, left arm, right arm, head.
Here, how about this? I rolled a 3 and a 9. Broken and useless.
Okay. So you are broken and useless. You're just broken and you are useless. So the torso is broken and useless. So you basically, your ribs are shattered, right? You can barely breathe. Perfect. That sucks. But if you had a heavy piece of armor on, instead your breastplate would be broken, but you would not be broken and useless. And that's why anything 3 or more is protected by the heavy armor, because that's when things break. Because if you look at number 1, it says, like, for legs, it says tripped, knocked prone, and number 2, it says as 1 plus a penalty. And the same thing with beyond 3. It says broken and useless, and number 4 is as 3 plus you're knocked out. So after 3, you're always getting broken. The thing is breaking, or you're getting dismembered, because yes, there's limb dismembering. Why don't you roll me a D6 and a D4 for your facial and limb dismemberment?
So for my facial dismemberment, I lost my right eye.
Sick.
And then for my limb dismemberment, I lost either fingers or toes, I guess, depending where we're at.
Sick. And then there is a whole section up here. There's a note on dismemberment. There's no attribute loss or other mechanical effect, right? However, the dismemberment should be considered when the Swyver does something. So if you lost all your toes, then you're trying to tightrope walk. You should think about that in the skill check, right? Clever planning and careful descriptions and prosthetics ensure no activity is disallowed. Don't be disrespectful to real people with limb loss. Like that.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Love that. And then that's, we're going on. Fight like a Swyver. There's more stuff you can do, right? You can grapple from behind, you can knock down. I like that it basically says, like, here are a list of some mechanics to give you an example, but this list is not everything you can do. It's just inspiration. Use your imagination. That's what the rules say. And the grappling from behind, knocking down, those are all in there, and that's great. And then,
I also like the delineations, like the attacking from behind, but also flanking or hitting prone. And then, like, grappling is thing, but also grappling from behind is different because it's different in that situation. It also implies that if a player character came up with a situation, like, I would know how to make a rule for that delineation of this, because it's like, oh, it's a +2 normally for some things, or, you know, it just makes it very easy to understand the system and expand upon it in your own table, you know? Yeah.
It's a good, outside of the skills thing, it's a really great framework.
Yeah.
In the way that OSR is often good frameworks for those
the skills
that
thing
are
is there,
good.
by the way. We both missed it, so.
Oh, well, we will look, and then I will apologize when I see it. Healing is slow. The assistance of a barber surgeon helps. So basically, if you are above 0 HP, 1 day's rest, it all comes back. If you're below 0 HP, you get, half 0 HP, recover half their HP after a day's rest. A barber surgeon speeds that up. Great. But if you have broken bones, that's when you're really fucked. HP can come back in a day or 2. But if you're a broken bones, an arm takes 3 weeks, a leg takes 6 weeks, a rib takes 4 weeks, and a skull takes 9 weeks. But if you have a barber surgeon, you can pay them to make that faster, but you have to pay them, like, every time to keep making it faster. And I love that. And then there's funeral rites. He was a good lad, a right scumbag, and he'd want us to spend it all on a piss up. So you can actually take your dead friend's XP, penny, I assume that means pence, which is the thing that's in the game, right? I assume a penny is a pence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And then,
so if record, Americans don't have pennies, we have cents, even though we call the cent a penny. That's actually what a pence is. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. We're dumb. God, can we just get rid of the penny? Anyway, so recovering the corpse of Swyvers allows the XP to be purchased in a straight penny for XP conversion. The money is spent on the funeral for the dead, and the XP is divided up against the other Swyvers. And only those involved in the campaign with him or whatever have claim to the stiff's XP. I like that. That's really interesting that the XP you all gain together can still be yours. You just buy it from the dead body. And this might be one of my favorite pieces of the entire book.
The big fight.
Bro, the movement on this page, every single person except that this smiling fucker here with the sword is getting fucked up. He is the only one that seems to be not really getting hurt, but he is stabbing a dude. And that dude is in turn getting kicked in the face by another guy. And that guy is in turn, not only is a rat flying at his face, but he's being choked out by a giant guy. That's giant guy. Oh, is it a cat? I guess it is a cat. I saw it as a giant rat, but same thing. The giant guy choking the guy that's kicking the guy that's getting stabbed is stabbing another dude through the hand, through the face, while that guy has his thumb in big guy's eye. And dude getting choked is actually getting like thrown down onto another dude who's like trying to hold him up. It's insane. This piece is incredible. Everything that's happening, the interconnectedness of it, and it's crazy. And then dude getting kicked in the face has like a bat, but a dog is biting it. Like crazy. There's a disease table. There are diseases. They're great. Slobby cobbler, or soggy clobber, flawed and flu, the stew, smoke slurry. They're great. There's a whole section here about diseases. There's a great piece of art. We're not going to dig deep into this. There's effects, there's cures, there's cost.
Hold on, wait. On the diseases though, you missed the best one. Tom's face. Incredible hair growth on face. Can't smoke. Eating is a challenge. What's the cost success? None. Just have a shave.
There you go. No. Okay. Let's talk about the best one then. I'm sorry. It's the beef sweats. Incredible fever with pungent sweat. Cannot wear armor due to heat, and hungry dogs will attack you. 1 constitution roll on 4 day, whichever comes first. And there is no cost. You just get the beef sweats. Yeah. We'll move on from there. There's even more STDs of the smoke. Yeah, there's an STD table. Got to get that hot smoke or hot soup. The thud, the frog legs. Anyway, there's a morale section here, which is interesting. With some modifiers to that. Adversaries have a morale value, so we'll go over that a little bit later, but we're not going to dig too deep into this. There's a chase mechanic here that's pretty straightforward. And there's modifiers based on heavy armor, light armor, but if you're carrying somebody, if at least one party member knows the area, it's great. It's a really clean, great chase system. We're not going to dig into deeply, but it's cool. And now we're going to get to the place where I'm going to have to apologize if I need to. So there is random chase interference section. So there's a D8 table of random chase interferences. Timekeeping. A turn is a 10-minute span of time. 6 seconds is a whatever. Illumination, it tells you that a lantern is 30 feet, a torch is 30 feet, and burns for an hour, etc., etc. There's light, and there's ways to use it. So let's get to advancement, and let's talk about this. And if it's here,
yes,
it's a terrible spot for it.
It's way too late. And
I did read advancement. Yeah. So advancement is achieved through accumulation of XP. Experience points. The main source of XP is the sale of loot and expenditure. XP is gained from the value of all loot sold. Until the loot is sold, no XP is gained. Having a good fence is essential. The value in pence is all sold, etc., etc. So you sell stuff, and then however good your fence and stuff is determines how much you sell it for, and how much you sell it for gives you XP. So straight up, loot for gold, baby. Old school.
Yeah. The right way.
Gold for XP, right?
The correct and proper way to do XP.
Right. If what you want is to people to steal stuff.
I'm a dungeon crawling piece of shit. If your game uses narrative XP, good for you. I'm not dissing it. I'm just being a piece of shit. So
yeah, I love both. It just depends on. Here's a great thing about gold for XP. 10 seconds is tangent motivation built into the game. That's what it is, right? You're a dungeon delver. You want to bring back loot, so make loot the XP, not monster XP, because then you're looking for loot, not to kill monsters.
Yeah.
Boom.
And
So
in this game, you're a crook thief who's trying to make their way in the world and grab every cent they can, penny they can. So yeah, it makes sense that that's how it would work for this one.
no, I am right, and this only complicates the issue. Chat. So we're moving on. So if Swyvers are hired for a specific job, they get XP equal to the amount, etc. Illegal or hot goods require a discerning buyer, etc. A Swyver can only gain XP and a half required to gain a single level as a result of a single heist. So XP levels are 0, 0, 1 is 300, 2 is 600, 3 is 1200, 4 is 2400, 5 plus is twice the previous, with previous times 2, which is exactly how they all are, right? 600 is double 3, 1200 is double 6. Makes sense. Very fucking easy.
Yes,
5e
great.
experience table. Fuck are you doing? We have to add like +5 to that shit at this point. So what that's saying is no matter how much loot you get, you can only ever gain a level and a half of money, right? So if it's 600 to 1200, that means that you can only ever get what, like 1800,
right?
Because that would give you one level and a halfway to the next one. Max, right? Okay, so here though, it says in advancement, when leveling, the Swyvers gain 2 of the following, and there's 3 things listed. A +1 to fighting skill. Still doesn't tell you what it's derived from. Still doesn't tell you how it starts. You can just take a +1 to a maximum of +6. So still doesn't answer what it's derived from, where it comes from. So still, I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that it's still not clear. Or number 2, you get +1 HP to a maximum of 20. Dope. And then number 3, you get +1 to an existing or new skill, may be chosen twice. So this is one where there's a possibility of some clarity here, which means, but I think that said that a little bit in the character part 2, right? You can improve a skill by 1, right? So this is saying you can improve a skill by 1 or take a new skill.
Which I could have just put that in the part 2.
It could have just put it in.
It is interesting because, again, I will reference Wolves Upon the Coast because the character creation is very similar, at least. In Wolves, you start with a +1 to hit, which is the fight skill essentially in this, right? But it says that, and it says when you boast, you can take another +1. But you start with +1. I think the thing is, my impression of Luke's writing is that the implications of rules, writing things out is good. This is not a 101 game. If this is your first game, this will be more challenging for you to parse out the rules.
Yeah. But there's a little more intuition of like knowledge of past games and stuff that would be very helpful.
From this, I intuit like the character creation says everything you start with. So I know everything I start with. I know I don't start with any fighting skill. I know I don't start with any skill, but I know now if I advance that I can take it. I can get +1 in a new skill, or I can gain +1 to the fighting skill, which I know I don't currently have.
But here's I don't.
This is
mind.
A scaffolding discussion.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. It's more, I just think it's not even the scaffolding. It's a lack of clarity.
Yeah.
In my opinion, because if the intent is you start with no skills and but the problem then, right, is the rules say add your fighting skill to fighting. But if you can only take 1 new skill or 2, it says you can take this thing twice. It may be chosen twice. So you can take 2 new skills on a level if that's all you want to do. Right? You don't advance a skill, you take 2 new ones. That means that if you start at level 0, until you hit level 1, you don't have a fighting skill. And the only way to get a fighting skill is to choose fighting skill as an option. But in the book, it very clearly says add fighting skill. It doesn't say if you've chosen the fighting skill. It doesn't say anything. There's a complete lack of clarity. And I don't, if that is the intent, I am okay with that. Say it somewhere in the book. Like if you have to intuit across the creation page and then the general rules page and then go like 12 pages deeper to get to advancement, which is for some reason buried between illumination and money expenditure for some godforsaken reason. This is the worst located rule in the entire book. Why is advancement of all things literally on the page that it has?
Why is it here?
It's a chase complication table, timekeeping, money expenditures, and illumination has tucked in the middle of all that advancement, which if we're saying that this is a way to clear stuff up, should probably be in a better spot.
Yeah, advancement should be in a better spot. I will definitely agree with that. It's in a very weird spot. You think it'd be higher up near the character rules.
You would think, you know where I would put advancement? In character creation.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Before I would put like the kind of dogs I can have, right? Like,
yeah, I actually think that's fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're going to put it there. So here's the thing, again, and not to harp on it, because this is honestly my only gripe with this entire book is just a lack of clarity on when you get a fighting skill, what it's derived from, and when you take your first skills. And if that means you have no skills until you hit level 1, that's fine. Just say you have no skills until you hit level 1. Like you could clear this whole thing up in probably 1 sentence, maybe 2. Your fighting skill is derived from X, and you start with no skills. It could 12 words. 12 words could make the entire thing completely different. And that's all I want. I mean, I would just play it like you said. I would honestly let people start with a +1 as a fighting skill, and then you have no skills until level 1 based on what I see in the book right now. But I would appreciate some clarity. And that's it. And then we'll cruise through some more. So carousing consequences is an option, because in the expenditure section, it's basically how to spend vast sums of money, right? And that includes carousing out based on the district that you're in a quiet district, in a heavy district, and a normal district. You carouse, and there are consequences to your carousing, which is a D20 table. The consequences of that could be the law. So there's crime and sentences and fines and stuff. This is the hilarious section. I love the part at the top. The system of law is applied inconsistently in the case of drunks. The fine to avoid the sentence never seems to match up. If the fine isn't paid within the next 2 days, they suffer punishment. And here's more crimes. Like a theft is 3 days. Consorting with witches is 8 days. Speaking ill of our gracious crown, 2 weeks. And then there's a fine as well as it goes. And then also, I love this part. A random spouse, 50% chance that this was more than a shag for them. So you could be randomly hooking up with someone's husband or wife, and oops, sorry, that is the child of the warden that you just shagged. They might not like you very much. A random affair.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, with a duchess, with a duke, with Big Dave. Big Dave is obviously
coming through again.
Big Dave jumping out of pit traps, busting down doors, and having affairs, So there's a lot of stuff on that. Revenge of the Spurned Putterer. So putterers are an interesting thing. They're basically, you can take under your wing, like what is kind of a hireling, but it's more of like a trainee on whatever you want to do with that. And there's a whole section here on the cost that you're doing to train them, how to treat them, how loot is spread with them. But if you treat your putterer poorly, as in use them as trap bait, don't feed them, mistreat them in different ways, so the D6 table on what your putterer will do as a fuck you. Basically, like, if you piss off your student, they're going to key your car when they leave, kind of thing,
Absolutely. Or they'll just burn all your shit down,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It goes from simple theft to arson to manslaughter, where they will literally attempt to kill you. Yeah. Or kill someone else and blame you for it. So don't piss off your trainee. So there's loyalty, there's encumbrance, which is an interesting part to put encumbrance. The encumbrance rules, again, is in a weird spot, because I would put that maybe with the items more. There's a fences section. I would also put the fences stuff maybe closer to where items are instead of after putterers and things. Regular buyers, occult versus regular buyers for the fences. That's what those are. And there's different types. There's a D8 for each of those for the different kinds of buyers you can have. And then we're out of general rules. Boom, we did it. So we'll talk about the rule set later. That's it for that. So running Swyvers. We can pretty much just jog through this section, right?
Yeah, let's touch on magic, though. I think we should do that. But...
Well, we have like 3 sections before magic. But the smoke, this is basically a quick breakdown of the smoke, the Midden, the city, how to build it out for a campaign. So there's a paragraph here on the smoke, what it is. The greatest city in the world. You build it on your own, right? Beneath the smoke is the Midden, as an interconnected passage of built over streets, basement, tombs, layers, it's the underground. So the smoke is this massive city, and the Midden is the underground. And it says that you're basically at most maybe like 10-15 minutes from an entrance into the Midden at any given time. There's a section here about being in the smoke. It's always wet, foggy, smoky, dirty, everything. The only clean buildings are the royal buildings, and that's it. Every district has a warden who reports to a mayor who reports to the crown. So this is where your lore is, and I like that. Realistically, it comes out to 6 or 8 paragraphs, and that's pretty much it. Section on being in the Midden. It stinks. It's gross. And then the whole giant thing about building the smoke here. So palaces, jails, districts, expanding the smoke. There's a section, a little part here where it talks about mapping the smoke, and it talks about how to map the smoke the first time. So as you go, you can just be like, oh, I need another district. I already have the map. Boom, it's this. And you can just roll on it. It's great. So expanding the smoke, power of the rulers, power of the church, what wars going on, how old the districts are, all the general information about districts, average house and carried wealth of a district. This is literally building your city. Another great shot here of the 3 characters, one of which is a little doggo, a little pupper. And that's what this is. Tons of tables, tons of great art. Of different location types, rich and affluent locations. D100, hit me with a D100 for the street name though.
D100 street name.
I got 96. Butcher
36.
Street. What'd you get?
36 is Thumb Lane.
Boom, boom. Yeah. So D100 street names. That's dope.
Yeah.
Whole section here on more crimes, crime and punishment. Raucous brawling, theft, arson, murder, all that stuff. Bribes, the very big section on bribes, which I really enjoy. How you can bribe people, how much, the percentage of stuff, but also if you spurn the person you bribed, the likelihood that they're gonna try to like come fucking kill you. And
I feel like in this game too, there'd be a lot of bribing. There's a lot of criminal activity, so this is a great part to have, like a very expanded section.
Yeah, I mean the bribe stuff and the consequences of it are like 3-4 pages long, which I love, because there's also it basically says you can just like bullshit and fake stuff, or you can have leverage over somebody. So you can have the leverage you have can reduce the amount you have to bribe. And then change the percentage chance of things to happen. So a quick one: snitching on someone or thing less serious, a little bit of leverage, half value of bribe required at that level of seriousness of bribe, 3D reduction of petty crime, right? And then notes on usage of us is 30% chance of being identified as the snitch and hunted by the criminal underworld at large. So I love that. It's what leverage you're using, how much it reduces the bribe, but the consequences of using that leverage. Great. The art of wretch.
Appealing to sympathy. There's a 20% chance they decide to mug you instead.
Yeah. The art of rat shite, basically when all that goes bad and shit goes wrong, the betrayed watchmen will literally be hunting for you. Captains will pull strings and entire neighborhoods will hunt for you. They might even call in the detectives. And detectives, it literally talks about them like building a case to come after you and stuff. It's great. I love how much goes into the quote unquote criminals interaction with the law and all the various consequences and arrays and stuff that could take.
I mean, it makes sense. This is like a Blades in the Dark game, so.
Right, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's basically the same thing. It's about the same page count too, right? For chapter 1 of Blades.
For chapter 1 of Blades, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if that has that many pages actually.
No. There's literally even like a table to build out the detective for weakness, appearance, mannerism, and methodology. So you got to build Columbo to build your detective. I mean, if anything is, I just love that. I don't know if I would have thought nearly as much if I was making a game like this on how deep to go into the criminal interaction with the law. And they did it's so good. It's so good. Even the stuff that's on the table. I remember one of the weaknesses was like there's witches in their past, which is crazy because like witches in this game, obviously, like if you go through the crime section, that's basically the only thing worse than witches is basically treason. Yeah. So it's crazy that it's like somehow in the past there were witches. That's so cool. Additional motivations is crazy. So then there's a whole section on generating the Midden, which is all the same kind of shit that we just went over. So I'm not going to go. They're deep Midden, all that kind of stuff. We're just scrolling. We're scrolling. A sick piece of art of people going through the Midden.
This rat man jumping down with a fucking long sword.
Yeah.
Or a rat woman.
Incredible. And You can tell that they're in the Midden. Obviously, they're in like they have a torch. They're in like an archway. I love the sunken giant statue, which is like another cool piece of like hidden lore in there of like what giant statue was this for? You know, I don't know. It's great. More Midden stuff. More Midden stuff. Arseholes and adversaries. Arseholes. Another great shot. This was actually one of the kind of like promo pieces. That first shot of all the Swyvers going left, and then the shot of all of these guys going right. The Swyvers versus the adversaries.
Right.
Great piece. Fantastic piece. Actually, it's so fantastic. I want to toss it up here real quick. This was actually a color gradient version. Transform, fit to screen. Look at that. Incredible piece. Incredible piece. That's a fucking well, it's on the t-shirt. Did you get the t-shirt?
I did not get a t-shirt. I just got the book.
There's a t-shirt, man. But yeah, great piece of the Swyvers versus the Arseholes. Yes, I want to remove it. All right, and we're back. So, I will say my other, I guess, small beef is right here. And we're going to go over like one bad guy and we're going to move on from this. So cool. There's a primer at the top of how to read the stat blocks.
Okay.
It says HD are D6s. Anyone that knows HD in games, a lot of times D4s, D6s, whatever, like that's how you roll your bad guy, right? If your HD has 3 and it's D6s, you roll 3D6 and add whatever modifier. That's how you generate different hit points for things, right? Those in 5e, that's how they work there too. Humans have 3 HD for reference, obviously, because we rolled 3 for Constitution, and that's derived from your, yeah. So stat block explained. In order, it says HD is the number of D6s rolled. Attack is the first value, is bonus to hit followed by damage. Defense is the number required to successfully strike them. Armor is the armor value, expressed as an armor variety. Movement describes how the creature moves in its speed. Initiative, when in the turn the creature moves. Morale, the morale score of the creature. And appearing, the number appearing, right? So my only real beef is that that is the order in which it explains the stat block.
Oh, and they're not in that order within the actual stat block?
And the stat blocks are not in that order. It's not that big a deal, but I'm like, why wouldn't you explain it in the order of how the stat block is written? Because the stat blocks are written, the explanation is HD, attack, defense, armor, movement, initiative, morale, appearing. And the stat blocks are written HD, defense, armor, morale, attack, initiative, movement, appearing. So there's just no reason that they're not in the same order.
They're like close to the same order. They're close. So
kind of like, except defense is second and attack is like fifth. Like it's just it's a weird. The only things that are the same is HD at the beginning and appearing at the end. But I mean, again, it's whatever. Like it's just a list explaining it. But to me, I'm just like in my head, I'm just like, well, why wouldn't they just be the same? It doesn't matter. So real quick, going over like one, unless there's one that jumps out to you, I'm just going over the agent of the church. HD is 3+1, defense is as weapon +2, boil leather, morale 11, attack is +2, damage is weapon, initiative is weapon, movement as man, and then 2d4 appearing, right? A dentist. I fucking love this. Dentists are the church regularly oversteps the bounds of their authority in the smoke. They just try to do it in a deniable manner. Dentists, quote unquote, are how they achieve this. Clerics driven to serve in any manner asked of them. Some would say especially when it involves hurting people. Generally, they are engaged in abduction and destruction of evidence rather than murder. And they're called dentists. I assume because they knock out your fucking teeth.
That would be my assumption as well.
That's so great. First of all, I love that. That's very churchish, right? But also just calling them dentists is so fucking vibey to me for some reason. It, like when I read this, I literally was just like, oh man, like threw my head back, like the whole nine. I was like, this is so good. Like Luke is just, bro.
There is one enemy I want to cover.
Yeah, go for it. Where are we at?
Cluster Canine.
Cluster Canine.
It's on 65. It's
a stink pup.
Stink pup. So foul fluids and strays. A conglomerate of lost dogs trapped in the Midden and now fused a canine rat king with abandonment issues. About the size of a wagon, treats or a loving home will just piss it off. Limbs and snapping heads jut out of the center mass. It toddlers about the tunnels and eats its erstwhile masters. It has fleas. So it doesn't have hit dice, which I think means that you can't really kill this whole thing.
That's what I was just gonna say. Did they just forget a number here, or
No,
do you
I think
think?
this is you run from this.
So my only issue then also with that is just fucking write that. You can't kill it. Like I don't
Yeah.
like to the need to intuit something like that makes you just go, there's no HD here. I guess I'll just use normal dog stuff.
Or yeah, maybe you just do normal dog times 10. I would just write it as like, no, it's a big conglomerate mass of several dogs. You can take swipes at it and you might hit something, but there's so much going on, dude. There's no really killing this thing. You need to run away.
Yeah, but I mean, why can't you just kill a bunch of dogs? I don't know. But the way this also is so indicative of Luke's writing, though, and I love so much of it. Treats or a loving home will just piss it off. It has fleas. Like, it's so fucking. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe just how, like.
I think it's interesting too. It's like, so there's D4 cluster canine appearing plus D8 normal dogs.
Yeah, there's no way you can't not kill it. I genuinely think they just missed a number there, dude. Like D4 of them coming at you plus normal dogs. That's an encounter.
Maybe. That's just how
the other
I run my game. So
as there D4 of these things are coming at you and they're unkillable.
Yeah, you gotta kill the dogs.
I don't want to play in your fucking game.
So.
I don't want to play in your game. Because Arachnid Appeased has 10 HD. So like, I mean, how much harder are you gonna? You could just make it 20 and just make it unkillable. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's fair.
But Arachnid Appeased, I'm not gonna read a whole bunch of it, but the little like, it's always like the creature name and then like an example name of that creature. And Arachnid Appeased, it's Annie 8 legs. Just cracks me up. I don't know. 8 limbs wrapped about with a discarded escort's garments, all sprouting from the body of a young paramour. It reminds me of the beginning of what is that anime? Where the dude it's not Berserk, no. Where the dude is like hooking up with that lady, and suddenly she like wraps her arms around him. Is it?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that. But I've seen stills of it. So
yeah, I can't remember what anime that is, but that's exactly what this reminded me of. Is like, or maybe it's the beginning of Ninja Scroll. I don't remember. But you're hooking up with some lady and it becomes like a spider demon. Yeah. Anyway, also the Tom, Dick, and Harry for the average human. That cracked me the fuck up so hard. That's so fucking hard. Yeah, the average human, Tom, Dick, and Harry. And that's it. But so many of these are so vibey and there's so much lore in.
Yeah.
I love when people put lore in their monster books. Like, it gets me. Because even, like, these are nicknames for things, and the nicknames are important. Like, the Ash Dweller are called ghosts. Because they're ghostly pale, everyone just calls them ghosts. And that just cracks. I don't know why. Like, the vibes are immaculate and incredible, and I love it. Giant pig thing on the bottom of. Oh my god, dude, it's so gross and cool.
Actually
dude, do you see the
horrifying.
hand? The fucking hand, and obviously like the fucking like large intestine that's being munched on right here too. Yeah, it's great. Good job drawing that large intestine too. So Magic, Mr. Magic Man.
Yeah, it's fucking blackjack, guys. So yeah, to play this game, it does say that you do need a deck of cards. And oh yeah, wait, is that art piece?
Bro,
That's really what the fuck is this art piece? It's terrifying.
The spider in the back, the dude's
I know
guts, literally. Oh, well then we'll talk about it then. Is it one spell or is it like 3? Yeah.
Oh no, it's the guy with his organs coming out. It's a spell. So
okay, sick. All right, talk to me about Magic, and this is honestly, before you even get going, one of my favorite Magic systems I've ever fucking read.
Oh yeah, it's a great Magic system. So a big thing here is that originally we were like, I was like, before I started this section, why is the Magic section so far away from the player character information? And that's because this is not for player characters. This is for what's the GM called in this game?
Jim? I don't even think it was given a name.
Whoever's running the fucking game.
Smoker.
There we go.
No,
it's for a smoker. Your characters don't know shit about magic until they encounter it. It is not a known factor for the vast majority of the denizens of the smoke. Rumors of witches abound, but specifics are thin on the ground. So basically none of this information should be shared with the Swyvers. But to cast a spell, the player attempts to get between 17 and 21. So they're playing blackjack. They're pulling cards. The caster plays blackjack. Doing so successfully means the spell is cast correctly. The intended effect occurs. Scoring below a 17 means that nothing happens. It kind of just fizzles out. Scoring 21 exactly provides a more powerful effect for the spell. Scoring over 21 means the spell goes wildly out of control, requiring a roll on the mishap table. There are deeper levels to magic, which can be revealed progressively through play. The shores, the waves, the depths, which we'll go through in this section. At the beginning of the in-game day, you shuffle all the cards, barring jokers, into the deck. Spells are written in arcane tomes and scrolls, just like I like them, which must be consulted to cast a spell. Any such items are highly illegal, and ownership is evidence of heresy and witchcraft, because that is illegal in this game. When the player announces they are casting a spell, they are dealt 2 cards from this deck. These 2 cards are their current hand. These 2 cards are their current hand. The spell casting process is then split into rounds, with the player making 1 choice per round. The process continues until the player stands, big capitalized S, or the value of the hand exceeds 21. Cards are worth their printed value, with face cards being worth 10, and aces worth either 1 or 11, as determined by the player. Like that.
Like blackjack.
Yeah, like blackjack. I wouldn't know that because I never played blackjack. I just know hey man, I know you're trying to get as close to 21 as possible. I didn't realize that you could pick what an ace is worth to you.
Because if you get like a king and an ace, 21, right? Because it's an 11. But if you have a 17 already and you get an ace, it's great because it's just an 18. It's 1 to 11s. Yeah.
Makes sense. In each round, the player can take one of the following choices: hit, be dealt another card, face up, the total being added to their current hand. Stand, you take no more cards in that the capital S stand I was referring to before. You take no more cards ending the attempt to cast a spell, accepting the current value of the hand. So if you immediately get like an 18 or a 19 or a 21, you stand. You're done. You don't want to draw another card. You'll bust. Once the player chooses to stand, their final score is determined. Determines the result of the attempt. Like I said, 16 or lower is a failure. The caster deliberately allows the magic to falter and die, results in failure of the spell. 17, 20 success, it works how you intended. 21, the empowered success, the caster barely controls a wild gust in the flow, resulting in an empowered version of the spell being woven. Follow the empowered procedure as listed in the spell description. And then 22 plus is a crit failure. The flow overwhelms the caster and they lose all control, resulting in a wild and chaotic release of energies. Roll on the critical failure table. Once the results determined, discard these cards. They are not shuffled back into the deck until the beginning of the in-game day. This represents the depletion of magic from the surroundings. Love that.
So fucking
casters
good.
are free to examine their current discard pile. This represents them tasting the currents of magic around them. I also just really like that. Very vibey, you know?
Yeah, so vibey. But when the spell thing came out before, and when I saw this, I was like, man, spells are going to take forever. But then, no, because you start the round casting spells, right? Mm-hmm. And you get a card once per round. So basically, everyone's doing shit, and then the smoker comes back to you and goes, basically, you hit or do you want to hit? And you're just like, yep, hit, and you go boom, and then you just keep going. And that's casting magic, is just go, yep, hit me, baby.
It's actually super really lightweight. It's like a little mini game that you're playing as everyone else is attacking, but it makes sense. You're like gathering the magic around you.
Exactly.
And the spells can be fairly significant. And some of them are not like overbearingly so, but like they're fun and cool, but they can be really significant to anything happening around you. So it makes sense that's like you're sitting there while everyone else is doing stuff.
It's crazy.
You want to roll on the crit fail table?
Sure. What I think is interesting about the magic system, and if you wanted to tweak it all, I don't think you need to, but if you wanted to tweak it all, you could have a magic skill, and the magic skill could reduce 17. So if you have a skill of 1, it could be 16 to 20. If you have a skill of 2, it could be 15 to 20. You could widen your parameter of when you could do it. That would be an interesting hack if you wanted to play like all magic. That would be cool. Yeah, I would love to roll on the critical flow table. What is it? D20?
D20.
Let me use my little thing here because I can just click D20 and I got a 1.
Oh, nice. What's 1? Oh, here, I'll read
1.
It. Or you? Yeah, go for it.
No, go for it.
Okay, magic crystal. The magic, rather than being directed by the spell, forms a beautiful glowing crystal in the air. The crystal then explodes, and each of the Swivers in the room / area must save or be struck by D4 shards, dealing D4 damage.
Yeah.
That to me reads each shard deals D4 damage. So if you're hit by multiple shards,
D4 shards dealing D4 damage each. Yeah, that fucking, if you roll 4/4, you're get 16 damage, baby. Like,
yeah, you're not having a good time. I rolled an 18, which is transportation coma. The caster's mind is whisked away by a whimsical entity traveling the sea of chaos. Their body collapses, entirely comatose. If the body is kept alive for D4 weeks, which I hope your friends are that friendly, the caster returns a bound wizard, their brain etched with D4 spells. The player may choose which of the despots, page 76, they now serve. And they're like bound to something.
Stick. Dude, so many of these. So first of all, Flesh of Glass is great, but like the ignition of the necrotizing flesh, obviously my edgelord ass love that one. Your flesh begins to necrotize horribly as it corrupts you, like, and you lose your HP permanently. It's gone. You necrotize and it's gone. Limb of Insects. Like one of the caster's limbs is just transmogrified into a swarm of insects. Dude, but yeah, the Flesh of Glass one gets me because it's your constitution is automatically set to 18 as the flesh is replaced by plexiglass-like substance. You basically become like the White Queen, right? For Marvel, for those Marvel heads out there. They gain an additional D4 damage soak from their tough body, but any damage exceeding 2 smashes them into 1,000 pieces and you die and there's no healing. Like, you're literally a glass cannon. Yeah. Literally a glass cannon. That, like, thank you, Luke Gearing, for making a literal glass cannon. Great.
Yeah, so moving on, we get into kind of the depths of magic. Remember, magic can be revealed. Oh.
No, how amazing is, what is it, the shores, the waves, and the depths, or whatever, for names for how deep you go with. Oh my god. Yeah.
So the shores, which is like the kind of first level of like magical discovery, which is spell alignments. At this level of initiation, the caster understands that all spells are aligned to at least one of the 4 Hippocratic humors, as represented by the 4 suits of card. By matching their invocations, additional effects can be coaxed forth. And basically, this is saying if you, in your hand that you stand with and you successfully cast with, if you have a card in that hand that matches the suit, essentially the humor of that spell, it can create an additional effect to the spell, which is written in the spell descriptions. It's amazing. It's a layer of complexity you can add on as your character learns more about spellcasting that isn't overwhelming. And it's also built to be added on gradually. So it's not like you get everything up front and you're like, fuck, I have all these details. It's amazing.
It's so clever. It's so fucking clever. It's like,
it's the highest card in your hand, not just a card in your hand. It has to be the highest card in your hand matches that suit. So we have the suits, humor, element, temperament, and qualities table, which is very funny and good. But yeah, there's hearts, diamonds, spades, and clubs, and they match the humors, elements, temperament, and qualities. We don't need to go through all of them.
Do you know about humors? Like, this is literally what they thought that people used to be built. Bro, the phlegm and the biles and shit.
Like phlegm, yellow bile, theory. Black bile.
Yeah, bro. Like, it's so. Give me some of that yellow bile. I want to be dry and warm. A little bit choleric, you know? Anyway. And the art piece here is also fantastic. The like blowing out the smoke.
Oh, yeah. With the
gesture.
Framed.
Yes. Yeah. Bro.
The frames for the art in this are like amazing.
And it elevates everything to like an insane level, because not only are they blowing the smoke out, but they're also like pouring over like this thing, and there's like a dove coming out of the smoke that's like pouring down, but it's like water, and it like and like the other bottle has like another bird coming out of it. What the fuck, David? Like, insane.
It's really incredibly good.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving on to the waves, which are spell components. I actually don't know if I read this section. Did I not? I must have. I was reading this really late at night one night when I should have been asleep. So um, at
I
this
can
level,
I can go through it if you want me to take
oh,
over. Or
no,
you can keep going.
I'm cruising.
Go.
At this level of
All right.
initiation, the caster understands the latent power hidden within certain items. Oh yeah, I do remember this. By sacrificing such an item during spell casting, the corresponding card is played from the deck rather than the one being dealt. Gaining knowledge of these makes magic significantly easier, but the knowledge alone is a closely guarded secret. Acquiring many of the components in the adventure is an adventure unto itself. So you have these components, and so you can pull the cards from the deck uh, and play those cards instead. Is how I'm gaining that, right?
They understand the lane power, but sacrificing such an item. So the corresponding card is played from the deck rather than being dealt. Yeah. So if you have the item, you can just choose to play that, which is great. If you can get like the ace items and stuff like that, but they're insane items. But if you know you're at like a 17 and you have like one of the 4 items, you can be like, damn, 21, boom, donezo.
Very cool. And yeah, there's a list for each of the suits and what the items are. One, like Ace of Hearts, is like a heart of a mourning monarch, and it looks to me like the lower in like numerical value, other than the ace, because the ace is like a flex. The easier the things are to get, like the heart of a toeless pigeon is much easier to get than like let's do the diseased bladder of a tiger. Pigeons are fucking everywhere.
Yeah. You chop the toe off and then take the heart. I mean, there you go.
Yeah. Ace of Diamonds is a dragon's bile, burnt and inhaled. It's really it's pretty cool. So also like the idea of like you have one person who's become like a bound wizard or just like has taken up spell casting by consorting with witches or whatever, and they then start generating their own like, hey, here's some stuff, like I learned about this item, I want to get it, so we have to have an adventure to go get this item.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about this too is when you get to the next section, because you notice what all these cards are.
Yeah, they're the non-face cards.
Yeah, they're just the number cards.
Yes.
Because of what's next.
The depth. So this is the deepest level of magical knowledge. The caster has learned of the demonic forces which stand behind magic and may have contact with one of their many cults. Each of the face cards is associated with a demonic entity. Using their card in an attempt to cast a spell represents bargaining with them or their representative for a small fraction of power. Those who pledge themselves to the service of a despot may always start with the despot's card in hand. Crazy. Also, I like that they may start with that. So you can choose to forego this if you're worried about the consequence of it. But you can also just start. You could just start with the king of fucking knave of diamonds in your hand or whatever. Where was I? Demons are not known to be understanding masters. Each of the despots has elements of their associated humor / suit. A little note here: the historical term knave has been used in place of jack.
You want to just hit like one of these? Like, which one do you think is like the coolest demon, or which one that you saw?
Let's go. I don't know. You pick one.
King of Hearts is dope as fuck. Obviously, because I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So King of Hearts is Ball of the Open Wound. It's BHAL. So again, every suit of every face card has a demon despot lord, right? And this is the King of Hearts. The raw, vibrant wound that vibrates throughout the world. The first injury that drives life forward. Hurt, yes, but an essential reminder of living. Open to experience, open to further injury. To become bound to Ball, one must deliberately strike a mortal wound upon themselves, slowly dying over 24 hours. In the final moment, this gaping wound will act as the lips of Ball, and Ball will offer succor from death if only one serves. Baal speaks to their followers in all manner of injuries, whether they are physical or mental. Baal only wishes to see more wounds and more life, but requires one or the other to be advanced every day. Right? Every day you got to be making more wounds or more life, right? Like it's that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, right? And then you get to just hold a king in your hand when you're casting a spell, which is insane. It's a 10 already. You literally can't, it's impossible for you to bust because the odds of a jack of getting, basically all you need to get is a 7 or higher if you're allied to one of these demon lords, right? But I love the vibes here explaining who it is, how they interact with you. Like, it literally is basically like, for those that watch JJK anime, please, I'm not even gonna get into it. I can't even begin to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen. What a fucking disappointment. Anyway, it looks like I imagine Sukuna's mouths, how they pop up all over fucking Yuji all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, that's literally what this says, is like he uses mouths as wounds as mouths to speak. Insane. Luke, you're crazy. This is so fucking insane, and they're all this good. There's 12 of these. They're incredible. Anyway, so spells. Let's hit spells and be done. We're 2.5 hours. I'm proud of us.
Let's just do a spell.
Yeah.
And let me find what it is.
It does list the things at the top. So spades is black bile, phlegm is clubs, blood is hearts, and yellow bile is diamonds.
Okay, I think I found it. Hold on. No, that's not it. There's some really good ones. Sorry, I'm looking for the one specifically.
You're good. The art throughout here is also incredible. Like, this person with their face like aging away from them is incredible. I'll list some spell names while you're doing that because they're vibey as hell. Yes. To bind the mirrored self, to exchange mortal shells, to coax the fear of the mind, to make a slave of the dead, to reveal the secrets of the anatomy. Some of them have multiple humors associated with them too. To reveal the secrets of the anatomy is both hearts and diamonds. Which is interesting. To inflame the hateful passions, to speak with the regretful dead, to spring forth wisp flame, to utter binding thorns, to vomit yourself forth, to wear the face of another. That's all of them. What you're looking for, buddy?
I'm looking. I found it. It's on page 79. You already passed it. It's to reveal the secrets of the anatomy.
That's one I literally just talked about having too.
Oh, yes. Gotcha.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so to reveal the secrets of anatomy, the caster calls the innards of a living thing to cease their hiding. Any witnessing this for the first time must roll Constitution 3d6, so like a difficult roll, or spend d4 rounds of vomiting and gibbering. So if you roll, yes, it does have two suits, two different humors. If you roll a 17 to 20, cautiously, the organs respond to this call. The target is gently turned inside out over d6 rounds, taking d4 damage per round. They are unable to do anything other than shriek. If they do not drop any weapon, this damage is doubled. They remain as such for d6 hours. The return to normality is painless if they're still alive at that point, which they might not be. 21, if you get 21 on this, overcome with emotion, the organs leap to answer their summons. The target is violently turned inside out. Their shrieks muffled beneath the tearing of tendons, sapping of bones and skin. They expire after d4 rounds of crawling around. So if your highest card that you draw or that you have in your hand is a heart suit, the call is one of joy and delight and conversation. The organs wave happily in the air, which I think is what's happening in that the art piece. Any close associates of the target witnessing this must make a Constitution or Strength check. That's 3d6, or have their own organs sprout forth in joy, or sprout forth to join them. If your highest card in your hand is diamonds, The call is one of cowardice and violence, cowardice, violence, and spite. The organs fly to challenge such claim. The pressure of this causing explosion of gore and bone shards. Any adjacent individual must save or take 2d6 damage.
What the
It's
fuck?
such a horrifying fucking spell. It's amazing.
It's insane. You know what's interesting about this too is that the face cards have suits.
Yeah.
And it's a 10. You could easily auto have the demon card in your hand. And so if I have the King of Hearts, I get a 17 with a king and a 7, I can just auto do the heart on this because I have the king in my hand and just basically choose the spell. Insane. This is one of the most interesting, in-depth, clever, cool, just badass, disgusting, awesome fucking magic systems I've ever read.
Yeah, it's so absurd. It's also I know you've already just spoken about this, but like the varying levels of depth and how that like slowly adds to your ability to successfully cast powerful spells, or to almost guarantee that you'll get a certain extended effect from the spell. It's really great. It's a thing that it's a level of depth that magic systems never fucking have.
No.
Ever. And this is great. It makes magic feel magical, Yeah. And once again, I'll refer to Wolves Upon the Coast because I'm a piece of shit like that. But the spell casting there gives me a similar feeling. Not that it works the same at all, but that it's arcane and you need components for that one. And there's a whole system to it that feels very magical. This one also as you grow in your where in your initiation you are into the system, it changes how powerful or the depth of magic you've plumbed. It's great. It's very good.
I also love that there's no spell slots and shit, right? It just says they're in tomes and scrolls. If you find one, you have it, and that's it. And that's the craziest thing. So if you do have this one, right, and that's the only tome you have, this is the only magic you're casting. So your odds of trying to, if you get to the waves, right, the shore, the what is it? What are they again? I don't know why my brain keeps saying no to this. So if you get to the depths, right, and you actually are going for if you have all three and you have the item, you can literally have your demon card pull your item and just auto cast the fucking spell. Crazy. Anyway, that's, oh my god, it's so clever.
But remember that there isn't spell slots necessarily, but once you use a card to cast,
it's gone. It's
guarded until the next day.
Right. But I just mean to actually, if you have 10 tomes, you have 10 spells, right? But the odds of having more than one realistically in a campaign is crazy. But what I'm saying is if you find one and it is a spell that is hearts, your odds of not going for you're probably going to try to get to the waves for the king and queen of hearts. So you already are kind of ooh, I'm going to try to find that demon kind of thing. And that's just crazy. That's such a good through line of narrative with that. I don't know. It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, that's the game. The last thing is Blue Cheese Left to Rot, which is an adventure. And guess what? We're gonna read the fucking adventures by the game. It's really cool. I'm not even gonna give you any spoilers. Not even gonna scroll over it because there's fun stuff right off the bat. Boom, we're done. And this is the back page with the piece of art on the back and what I was talking about before. And that's the game. We did it. We did it in 2.5 hours. So let's go to the review scores. So, Swyvers. This is obviously a book. It's 95 pages. So we do quantify our terrible opinions with numbers on metrics. Real quick run through for those that might not have heard them before. Art and layout is the visuals of the book. It is the art of the book, quality, quantity, usage, everything like that. And the visual layout of the book, just how it looks, right? If it flows, is it readable, big gaps, things like that, whatever. Usability is the usability of that layout plus hyperlinks and bookmarks and if things are in what we consider to be a good order. It's how easy it is to take the book and use it at the table or read it in a consistent flowing way, right? Rule set is the rule set of the game. It is the rules. It is, if it's an adapted rule set, how well is it adapted? If it's a unique rule set, how do we fucking like it? Because don't forget, this is our opinions, right? Originality, our terrible fucking opinions. We need to put that on a shirt. Originality is the originality in any of these aspects, right? Is it an original setting? Is it original rule system? Original lore? All that kind of crap. And then value is bang for your buck. It is not just the cost of the thing, but the associated stuff you get with it, right? Do you get a bunch of adventures? Do you get a bunch of, is there a third party license? Is there more than just what's written in the book? How long can you play this game based on what's written in the book, etc., etc.? So 10 points each, up to 50. Art and layout. What are your thoughts?
I mean, the art's fucking insane. Like, the art's actually crazy. The art's insane. It's really good. And I like the layout. I like a lot of choices made with how things are delineated. I think it's really easy to skim through it. I do think when we get into the rules section, it starts to feel a touch more cramped on certain pages, but not so much that I really even think I'd count off for that. But I think it's an overwhelming success in this area.
Yeah, I agree, but I will say that the adventure, the Morlo Docks, that comes with
adventure, not the adventure in the book, it came with another adventure too.
Another adventure. I will say I do like the layout on this a little bit more. In that it's got more colors, as in there's like red to differentiate some of the sections, and which I enjoy. It does have a little bit more space. It does change font sizes in some areas to allow for a little bit more room. You're right, it does get a little cramped because there are sections in the rules specifically where the headers just become like a thin capital thing, but there's no spaces in between. Especially when you look at like the armor page, which in the this and that section, it gets really tight. Yeah, boom, there it is. So I actually really enjoy this. I think mostly because, like you said, this specifically does allow for a little bit more room. But I mean, you got to give a little bit of leeway with some of the layout, with the way that like pages work and shit. Like I didn't know for the longest time that your page count has to be like divisible by 4 or something like that, because of the way that like books get bound and stuff like that. So to be like, oh, let's add one more page, you fucking can't. So when things get a little tight at the bottom, to keep it consistent, it's if we're being as pedantic as we are, because we are, it can bother us, but I can understand it. So what are your thoughts? I mean, the art is insane, and I know we said at the beginning, oh, like could use more spot art, but honestly, when I flipped through, I was like,
I changed my opinion after I flipped through. I'm like, no, you know what? I'm wrong.
Very few pages. I think maybe like the occult fences has like half a page of empty that I wouldn't have minded a little bit of something on. But other than that, like most of the pages that have big empty gaps are filled, and then I immediately flip to one that's not. But it doesn't bother me. I think the layout fits a page, and you know what also helps a little bit too is, at least in the book, the paper isn't white. It's like an eggshell kind of, so it's not crisp against your eyes, and it's got a here. Let me just go here real quick. So in the book, you can see that it has like an ink kind of texture on the paper a little bit. You know what I mean? And the paper is not super crisp white. It's much softer white on the eyes. But all the black flecks and stuff, I gotta say, it is a small thing. But having white paper that's not completely white and having just a little bit of texture on it saves the eyes when you're trying to read something like this, right? And it also adds just a little bit of flavor. Himbos does the same thing, where they have a little bit of texture to the paper, and it's not white, it's like a very light tannish, like off-white color.
I mean, I think
great choice.
This might be great for me, you know? I think
this is...
Oh man, I'm thinking maybe it's actually probably about 7.
You think it's really good?
It's branching on great.
So here's the thing. I think the layout is good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the art is
really
great.
Good. Okay.
I think the art is great. And I think if you mix good and great, I think you get really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good with 7.
I don't know. Here's the thing. The art is really good.
Yeah.
And there's a ton
also the page texture and like just the look of the book as you go through.
I think
like
it's great.
reading on PDF is fine, but reading in the book, you're like, this is truly a delight to go through.
Yes, I think it's great.
Cool. I'm right. So
are you good with great?
Absolutely. That was my original call.
Yeah.
And now you all listening, all the clever people listening, will figure out what our new internal metric is.
Why would you say that out loud?
Yeah. No,
So art and layout 8, usability. Okay.
yeah. So this is where it's gonna suffer.
I think so. For multiple reasons. You go.
It's in a peculiar order. Sometimes I think it works and there's an internal logic. Other parts of it, I'm like, I don't think that works. There is details missing that we've discussed that are kind of explained later on, but I think they needed to be a little more front loaded and actually maybe explained a little bit better. You're able to, if you've read a bunch of books, especially if you've read a bunch of like old school stuff or OSR shit, you're able to glean what is meant by things, but
you're able to guess. You're able to have a good guess.
Yes.
Like, I don't think you can with any certainty give a concrete answer, but I think you can guess what the possible intent was in a better way than people that haven't.
And
but
that's a hard one for me because I am I prefer you actually not like let me just glean some stuff from this, like the implications of things. I'm fine. I'll run this game at my table how I think it should be run, which I think is at least part of the intent. But yeah, it's if you're going into this with any less experience than me, who's now reviewed 200 something games, like you will have a harder time understanding it.
I agree to a point and then disagree with some of the latter part that somehow there was like an intent to just intuit the rules because it is a rule book. Give me the fucking rules, right?
Yeah.
And I also think, like, I genuinely think the skills thing is just missing. Like, I do genuinely think it's just missing. I think there's like a line or two that somehow was like, fuck, I didn't tell them what skills they start with. And if they start with none, I didn't tell them they don't start with any. Like, that is not a thing that you should, if that is the intent is to just figure it out on your own, is not a good thing. Like, that's not good to me. Like, tell people how to play the game. If I'm guessing by literally going to 3 different sections, right? So if we look at you know, the page numbers, I mean, I'm going from character creation on page 4 to then jumping to skills on page 24 to then jumping to advancement on page 32 to try to figure out if I start with any skills. If that is somehow the intent, which I do not believe it is, that's crazy. And if it's not the intent, then there is literally maybe like 15 words that could clarify both where your fighting skills come from and at. But is that in usability or is that in rule set? Because I think it's going to come up in both. But
I think I think it's in usability.
Yeah, I think my biggest beef is the order of things as far as usability goes.
I mean, I'm fine to punt off that. We just talk to onto rule set and talk about mostly the order of things in this one, because I do think it's in the weird order. I think we were able to logic out some of the choices from like that bit, like the pick, not pick lists, but the this and that section.
Yeah. But I mean, even if you go through the table of contents, right? You got character creation. And then under general rules, advancement is between healing and fences. It's a very weird spot to put your advancement because it is character creation stuff. But it's not even then with like the skills and save, which is the whole point of the advancement, right? So it's just I don't know. It's a weird order. I think, but here's the thing. As far as other usability tools we have, I'm not even worried about the bookmarks specifically because of that hyperlink.
Yeah, the hyperlink thing is
back to the table of contents.
Yeah, that's actually great. So
table of contents hyperlinked, inline hyperlinks. Everything is every page is links back to the table of contents. Honestly, that's all I want from a fucking PDF. Give me that. Give me that from your PDFs.
Yeah,
just give me that. So I think this is good.
I think it's I think I would probably give this one like a 6.
Yeah. Boom. All right, rule set. This is a weird one. I love the rule set.
I love the rule set. The rule set's crazy good. I love all the rules in it. I love how magic works. Like, I like that in this one where you're rolling a certain amount of dice under, right? And it gives you context for why you would roll 3d6 or 4d6 or 5d6, which it didn't have in Wolves. And so I was like, okay, well, what's the deciding factor on each of those? I like that's laid out more plainly here, and I like how hard that potentially makes things.
Yeah. And so here's my thing. When I like games, like on all the games that I've made that I've never put out, and all the games that I like when it's very consistent. Give me all D6s. right? I just want a game that uses a D6 for everything. So this game that uses D6s for skills and saves, but also has like a target number thing for when it doesn't matter, but also then uses D12s for competing rolls, which then also uses D10s for fighting rolls, and then uses D4s, D6s, D8s for crit fail tables, D20s, D100s for like all the rest of that. It uses like every freaking dice.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and I like it. It's fucking weird. Honestly, it's to me, it's almost like loot gearing fucking thing to just be like, I'm gonna make you use a bunch of fucking dice, you assholes.
I bought all of them, so I might as well use all of them.
Yeah,
so
it's good. The magic is in and of itself. If you just gave me that as a zine, it would blow me the fuck. Like in and of itself is insane. It's great. Honestly, like the biggest beef I have is honestly what could be less than 15 words of clarity on what and when you get the fighting skill and if you have any starting skills. That's it. It would take honestly one sentence, one message. So I'm not gonna hold that much against it. I genuinely I love this. I genuinely love this. Like this is
I'm still
great bordering on excellent.
Even with I'm about to say, even with the stuff that's wrong with this, I'm still like an 8-9 on this.
Easy,
you know?
easy. Like I want to be like a 9, and then the lack of clarity dropping it to an 8 for me.
I think that's where we're at. Then I think it's an 8. I think if it were the clarity on a couple parts, it would be a 9. Yeah. So originality, it is a Blades in the Dark hack. I think that the setting of this game is wonderfully British in a way that it really leans into as hard as possible. That listen, I'm a big Into the Odd guy, and I've run Bastion, and Into the Odd, which is another like it's supposed to be like an Industrial Revolution era, like London-ish kind of British place, but this feels different. This feels deeply more the slang is a lot deeper. It is a lot more thematic. It feels like a place. I really like the setting.
Yeah. So that the magic system to me, the originality, the depth of that is insane.
Yeah. Not only blackjack, but like blackjack with riffing on the rules by being able to start with a card in your hand based on the component that you have or like a deal you've made with the devil. And
the levels. Not
only that, casting the spell and the spell having different effects based on what is in your hand as you cast it. I think it's such a genius. I'm constantly trying to work on a magic system that I like, and they're never as good as what the fucking that,
Nothing is going to be as good as this. This is.
I know. There's no way. I'll write a magic
system.
There's
whole games based just on magic that aren't as good as this. Like that's insane.
Yeah, there are games you play as wizards with magic systems that are as good.
No, and this one is basically like you might never use magic at all, but let me give you one of the coolest magic systems that's ever been written. It's crazy, insane.
And the rule set's great. Like I really do like it. It is a callback to like rule systems that I already enjoy, but they're used well and they're kind of expanded a little bit from what they were previously, and they're explained a little bit better in certain parts. I give this one 2 Hunter thumbs up.
Yeah. What number does that? I mean, to me, this is an easy 8.
I think it's an easy 8.
Are you thinking it's a hard 9?
It's almost a 9 for me, man. I don't know.
So
you're playing as a thief in a scummy city. That's been done before. You are playing like I think an 8's good.
Yeah, I think an 8's good. Because again, I mean, we don't need. Never mind. Oh my god, we've already made the joke 18 times, so it doesn't matter. I have no idea what the value is. How do you even fucking buy this right now?
So if you go to Melsonian Arts Council.itch.io/Swyvers, it is $12 for the PDF. Which I don't think's bad. I mean, $12 PDF for this, I think that's pretty darn good. It comes with an adventure in there. If I want to,
I'm sure if you go to the Melsonian, the demo is free too. There's a demo, and then. If you go to the actual Melsonian Arts page,
I am slowly but surely.
We're getting there.
Is it even on here yet?
Maybe not.
I don't think it's on here yet. Oh, here it is. Swyvers, $38 USD.
It's not bad.
No, not at all. I think that's fine.
You are shipping if you're not in the aisle, you are shipping from overseas, which is going to add some money. $38. It's a good print. It's 100 pages. I mean, it's at average price for a book. I think that feels okay. It's not a great deal. There's no bookmarks or anything in it. I think it's a solid deal. Do all you get is a book? Does it come with the Marlowe docs or anything, or is it just a straight book?
I think it's just a straight book. Hold on, I don't want to say it too confidently of being wrong.
Oh shit, my shit's in dark mode, so everything's like blocked out.
Yeah, I do think it's just a book.
Okay, I mean the book is great. The book's great.
Also, being able to all the tools to build out your smoke and the midden, it's like I think that's going to add an amount of life that's hard to quantify. It'll really click with your table or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean that's one of the reasons like something like Forgotten Ballad got a really high score because it's endless. You could build 50 different smoke cities and stuff. You know, I know that there's a huge section in the beginning about usage. Does it say anything about third-party situations? I don't think so. All rights reserved. Inquiries concerning reproduction. No, here we go. Melsonian Arts Council grants explicit permission to publish free or commercial material based upon and or declaring compatibility with Swyvers. Without express written consent, you just write this shit. Third-party license, baby. Let's get some more Swyvers shit. That. So average price for the book. I mean, average price for the book, right? And then third-party license at some points. The depth of information you get from a relatively thin book, you get realistically endless play. I think this is good. I think it's good.
Yeah. I think for this, I would say about a 6.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what we got, and we will wrap this up. So we got 8 plus 6 plus 8 plus 8.
I don't even do that anymore, so it's 30 though. But
36.
Oh, 36. Wow, I was way off. Don't listen to me.
This is why you don't do the math anymore. Yeah. 36.
I did 6. Never mind. I know I did. I'm dumb idiot.
So I will say this year we did decide to have a more consistent. We adjusted our internal metrics last year because so many fucking games had 8s as a rule set, and then we give it an 8 for the first rule set we do of the year. So the scores this year overall are probably going to be a little bit lower. 36. This might have been like a 38 or a 39, maybe like a year or two ago. With us being a little bit more. I think we've done this so much at this point. We're trying to be a little bit harsher this year. Not harsher, but just more consistent.
More discerning.
This book is fucking amazing. I think again you can see it's average on value. The area where it really suffered a little bit is usability. Generally, it's amazing. The art's amazing. The rule set's amazing. It's lacking a little bit of clarity, and I think it's in a weird order. And that's pretty much the critique I have. Otherwise, I would play this all day, every fucking day, any day. I would run it. I would play it. I would play it fucking tomorrow. It's great. I'm so glad I have this. I would buy it if I didn't. Swyvers fucks. Like, it's so good. That's it. That's all I got. Do you have anything to say? You good?
Hey, thanks for listening. Be sure to click like and subscribe on this video.
Hey, because you're supposed to call to action, right? If we cared about growing. Thank you, honestly, though, all for listening. This is our first full book review of the year. We are going to be trying to be more consistent and get you 4 reviews a month. Our Not Cat Chats is going to continue. Might be on a different day, so we can continue with our book reviews. Again, appreciate everybody. Appreciate everyone that had kind words to say after a year-end review. Expect us back next week on Friday for something. We have a plan. Never know. I'm going to start trying to post more.
Oh, do you want to say what we're doing on Friday?
You can if you want.
We're fucking reviewing Kane. We're reviewing
1.1, baby.
By Tom Bloom. That's right, 1.1. Very excited for that one. It's cool.
Yeah, it's a rare one we're going to do that is not in print. Have no idea if it's ever going to be updated again.
It will never be in print, so
yeah, which is crazy. We rarely do those, but we are going to be doing that. And yeah, that's what we're doing next week. Once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you when we see you. Have a good one. Bye, everybody. Bye.